Boom, 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 everybody. Happy Saturday to you, and we are back for another great episode of The Color of Motion. And I want to welcome you. My name is Don Terrell, and I am here every Saturday afternoon, 3 p.m. Central Time, live to the YouTube channel, LinkedIn, and the Facebook group. Well, actually, let me know for the Facebook group. I had to do some changing because Facebook no longer allows you to live stream or post content through a third-party app. So I have to do had to do a stream key with RTMP. So if you are happening to look view the show from the Facebook group, let me know. Because I don't have it up on the screen and I'm not checking it, but I guess I should. But again, I want to welcome you to the show. I want to welcome you to another great episode of The Color of Motion, where I highlight people of color and diverse backgrounds in the industry of motion graphics, animation, visual effects, cartoons, and comics. This space that I'm just, if you don't know, with 150 episodes, I'm just crazy about. And like I said, I'm excited. This is 150 episodes. This is our 150th episode today. And so today you get 2 for 1. So I'm excited about that. Make sure, and you know the drill, hop into the comments, say, hey, where you tuning in from, and so I can give you the shout out that, you know, you so richly deserve. But make sure that you do hop on over to the Facebook group community, facebook.com/group/The Color of Motion. Join in. Definitely don't want you to miss out. I want to make sure while I'm saying that if it is streaming. Like I said, I had to use an RTMP key, and so I did test it, but you know how it is when things go live, for sure. I want to do this. So if you are, again, make sure that you do hop on over to the Facebook group community. I am streaming on my page, I know, but I want to go to the group and see if it's streaming from there. Again, also, you can join us on our Instagram page as well. I haven't started streaming from there yet because I don't think that'll work out too well. But join us over there. We definitely want you to follow us for sure. I may have to check that key because it doesn't look like it's streaming from the group, but you can watch it from the Facebook, my regular Facebook page. But also, like I said, we stream live to LinkedIn every Saturday afternoon, the YouTube channel, 3 p.m. Central Time. And again, while you can watch it from the Facebook group, at least not today, but you can watch it from the website for the show, as well as LinkedIn and the YouTube channel. I do always, though, highly encourage people to jump on over to the YouTube channel, get plugged in, and where are we at here? Get plugged in. There we go. And subscribe, hit the bell notification. You're always able to check out great past episodes that I've had and all the content on there. So hit the bell notification so you don't miss out on when we go live and when great content goes up on the channel as well. So youtube.com/Don Terrell, and you know, check it out there. I always encourage there because there everybody's able to comment and see everybody else's comments as opposed to scattered around the different platforms. But again, I want to welcome you and thank you for joining me, and always thank you for giving me a little bit of your time. I should have had some, which I do, some confetti to celebrate this milestone, and I do. You know, this milestone here of, let me close this. Always a hog here, for sure. Celebrate this 150th episode that we're doing. You know, like I said, I can't believe I made it this long. 150 episodes in the can, and we're still going strong. Like I said, I couldn't have asked for two better guests to come on and help me celebrate this 150th episode, and been super looking forward to sitting down and talking with them, for sure. As always, you know, the store is open. Let me turn this confetti off here. The store is open. Make sure you hop on over to the store, pick you up some swag, and we're always putting new gear there as well. Definitely. You can pick you up some nice shirts, hoodies, mugs, all kinds of stuff. We're definitely always looking to put new things into the shop. But my only request is, if you do, make sure you snap a picture of yourself, send it in, you know, so that I can share it like I'm doing here on the show, and share it on all our social channels as well. So definitely would love to see you in some Color of Motion gear. All right. Man, oh man, like I said, I'm just super excited to be here. As always, I love, but again, you know, helping me celebrate this 150th episode. Well, we're really dragging today. Mr. DeMio, thank you there, brother. Congratulations. Looking forward to having you back on for sure, but I thank you. 150 episodes is no small feat. If you're a podcaster, or, you know, you have a show, you know that's no small feat, and being consistent and getting to that point. So I thank you for coming by and celebrating with me for sure. Again, you know how I like to have the show. I love it to be an interactive show. So if you're joining in, please make sure you say hi, and you know where you're tuning in from. Because like I said, I always like giving shout outs to people that stop by and check out the show as well. So with that, like I said, I think, you know, we're kind of ready to kind of get this show on the road. I am super excited about my next two guests. Like I said, today you get 2 for 1 for this 150th episode, and they're doing some amazing stuff. So how about you say we get this show on the road here, huh? All right. We are back and ready to get this show, like I said, down the tracks here. So super excited, like I said, about my next guest. So my next guest, BayWorld Unlimited, is the premier independent animation company housed in East Bay Area in Los Angeles, California. The Bay Area is always known for its roots in the tech culture and entrepreneurial spirit. They continue that tradition in the industry of animation. Founded by Christopher Ellis and Bruce Bowers in the spring of 2016. They proudly represent the greater Bay Area with original creator content and unique intellectual properties, which you guys will see. It's unique. Christopher Ellis is an award-winning screenwriter, director, and film producer. Bruce Bowers is an accomplished animator, artist, and graphic designer. The two together formed BayWorld Unlimited, an IP development company in animation, licensing, and technology. And as a black animation company, BayWorld Unlimited sole mission is to stay community-driven, influenced, and supporters of underrepresented communities in the Bay Area, their home, and similar communities across the globe. The stories they tell are a reflection of their mission statement. BayWorld Unlimited was birthed through the tragedy of Chris Ellis's loss of his only son, whose life was taken in 2015, tragically at a young age. Von World became the flagship IP that spawned an animated series, apparel, and a nonprofit foundation. Through Von World, other animated projects has spawned, including It's the Van Ambergs, Booty Woman, and the Mario Hodge 5-minute comedy hour, the latter being their first signed, talented stand-up comic animated show. BayWorld Unlimited looks to continue to expand in 2024 and beyond with more shows, including their own live podcast, BayWorld Grubbin', a new animated short film, The City of Dope, and a female-centric animation series called Womanhood. Everybody, please help me welcome my very special guests and friends, Mr. Bruce Bowers and Mr. Christopher Ellis.
How y'all doing?
Awesome. Well, like I said, I am super excited that you guys came on to help me celebrate my 150th episode, and been looking forward to sitting down and chopping it up with you, because when we did connect, we talked a lot about just controlling your own IP, building something on your own. So I'm super looking forward to sitting down and just seeing your journey through this industry, the things you've discovered along the way as well. But first, I would like to ask how you two did meet.
Go ahead, Bruce.
You know what? It kind of is. And the reason why I'm laughing is because Chris and I know a lot of people, and we've known a lot of people, the similar people we've known for years before we even met each other, which is bananas. But we first met through my wife. My wife was a DP, a film DP, and Chris I don't know how you met my wife, Chris, but he knew my wife before he knew me. And he'll have to tell that story.
Well, I'm looking forward to delving into that one.
But for the most part, me and Chris, we first worked together on a video set for a video that he had shot for an artist named Stress called Tell Two Story Guide. And it was a video that he shot and directed where it tells the story of the demise of this rapper who met this girl who it eventually cost him his life, kind of thing. But he tells it backwards and he raps it backwards. The beat is backwards. It was great. That's probably one of the best videos I've ever seen still to this day. Go check it out. Tell Two Story Guide. Okay. Got a story to tell backwards. But we met on that set, and I was one of the actors in the video. I played one of the thugs, actually, that was a part of the guy's demise, the rapper's demise. And we ended up working again a couple years later, a few years later. And I did some other videos with him and stuff like that too. But we ended up working together on a movie set for his film, Hope's Identity. And that's where I got to really know Chris. And that's where I really got to know his son, Davon. Davon had a appearance in that film as well. And so we kind of like grew together, grew close together because of similar interests in business as well as personal. And it just kind of went from there. But that's how we met.
All right. Well, Chris, you want to kind of chime in on how you do his wife before
Bruce really did a horrible job intro with how Chris knew my wife before me. Hold on, man.
The viewers are going, boy, this is going to go sideways here.
That was not a good way to say that, dude.
Oh, man. It's going to be a great 150 episode here.
We told you.
But me being a film director and doing music videos for artists, and his wife doing DP work and knowing some of the same artists that I was dealing with.
Yeah.
I knew her through filmmaking.
Yeah.
Met her through filmmaking. And like I said, the first video that I did that I met Bruce, that he explained, was Tell Two Story Gotta, an artist named Stress, and Bruce was playing one of the thugs. And that's kind of how I was introduced to him.
Yeah.
And it's really that simple. I just met his wife through working working conditions.
No, I get it. Yeah, you guys were in the same circle, so you knew each other. Yeah, I mean, you were in the same industry, so you knew each other. Yeah.
And that's, but what he said is true though. Like me and Bruce both knew some of the same people. We're we're both from East Oakland. We just never met each other. But we knew the same exact people. So eventually it would have came full circle regardless. I think whether we would have started a company or not, me and Bruce would have met up over time regardless.
Yeah.
Because we know the same people.
Yeah. Well, what was it, Chris, for you that initially got you into filmmaking? I mean, were you always interested in doing film, or was it just the fact that you were out in California, and obviously that's kind of the film space, or did you have any illusions on doing something else before you got into film?
Nah, filmmaking was everything I wanted to do. Even as a kid, like I was an only child, and my parents were very strict and hovered over me a lot. So it was a lot of times, when you were singing, you're the only child, you got to stay in the house while all your friends are
Yeah.
I had those type of parents like, no, you can't go out. It's raining. You ain't going outside. So on those days, it would be like literally me in the house watching movie. Yeah. So this is going back to watching, the reruns of Shirley Temple movies and Little Rascals and just movies in general. And I always thought it was fascinating how movies were made. And I always thought, even back then when I was a little kid, like I wanted to be in those movies. And then as I got older, it turned to I wanted to make those movies. I wanted to make those movies in because I always saw Hollywood as like this magical. I always saw Hollywood as a kid like Disneyland, like it's this magical place where they make these magical pieces of art, and it was something special about it. I never saw movies as just movies. They were special to me. They were different for me. You know what I'm saying? Like I would watch a movie as a young kid, and I'd come back to school and talk about it, and my friends would look at me like I'm a Martian because I was breaking down the whole movie as a kid. They was just like, "What?"
Said, no, we just liked the movie. We just went in to watch the movie. And you're sitting here trying to be Martin Scorsese and breaking it down and stuff.
They couldn't remember any names of the characters. I remember all the names of the characters. I remember every scene, what the dialogue in the movie and stuff like that. So I took it. I've always taken movies that serious. Yeah. And as I got older, and it was more accessible to me to become a filmmaker, with the camera, DSLR cameras came into play and stuff like that. Yeah. And really just learning the craft of filmmaking. I ended up going to film school and stuff like that, and I just went full-fledged into filmmaking.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Chris, what about you as far as getting into animation and graphic design? Were you kind of always, like, or Bruce, were you always like Chris at a young age? You knew you loved, graphics and animation and cartoons and stuff, or were you kind of thinking about a different path as you were getting older?
Oh, that's for me.
Yeah, that's for you. I think I said Chris, but I meant Bruce.
Bruce.
Oh, okay, because you said Chris.
Yeah.
All right. So when you said Chris's name, I tuned out of the question. So now you have to ask the
Like I said, folks, this 150 episode is going down some serious twists
Yeah.
twisted turns. So were you always artistically inclined, interested in doing animation, and that, as a youngster, growing up in the Bay Area, was that something that you always wanted to do, or did you kind of come into that a little later on down the line?
I think like every kid my age, because Chris and I, we grew up in the same era for the most part. I got my inspiration from Bill Cosby and the Cosby Kids. That used to be my favorite show when I was
Fat
like
Albert.
5 years old. And watching Fat Albert, Fat Albert and the Cosby Kids, I should say.
Yeah.
And that was like some of the first characters I drew. I used to love drawing Fat Albert and the Cosby Kids. And the thing that I liked about them is that there was these kids that were a gang that hung out in the junkyard, and they had so many different personalities.
Yeah.
And just like Chris, when he watched his movies, he watched for details. I did the same thing, even at a young age. I paid attention to, mush mouth shoes, and how come he don't have shoestrings and the Bill does? And then, everybody, like half the group wore Converse. That was like the tennis shoe. Everybody's wearing Converse high tops, different colors. So see, just those things. And I know, typically people watch that stuff and, Fat Albert and Cosby Kids, and then that's it.
Yeah.
But they don't really go into the details and the instruments they were playing in the junkyard and stuff like that. So it went beyond the whole thing as far as like having moral at the end of the story and stuff like that. That was simple stuff. I wanted to get more into the technical stuff of it. So that just kind of like grew with me as I got older. And it just, my career kind of went through different phases, from cartooning to graphic design. Comics was a huge Marvel head back then, and enjoyed Marvel Comics artists back in the 80s and 90s, which I dealt heavily with that stuff. So, but yeah, it started at a young age for me. And Fat Albert was the catalyst.
Yeah, a lot of people forget it was so ahead of its time for back then. Like I said, because you didn't see, like I said, just a show that was led by characters, black characters, and it was, it was just so topical. Just the everyday things that they were going through, not like I said, the shooting or just the type of stereotypical stuff that you see now, but so ahead of his time back in the day. And Bill Cosby was so ahead of his time in the things that he was creating back then, for sure. So where did you go to film school, and where did you go to art school, Bruce and Chris?
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Bruce. Go ahead, Bruce.
So my art education actually is, and this is no joke, no lie, I took a semester of technical illustration at Elmhurst School, Mr. Pepshake's class.
Okay.
In the 9th grade. That's it. That's all the art schooling I've ever had in my whole life.
Okay. What about you, Chris, for film?
For film, I did 2 years at Bay Area Video Coalition in San Francisco. It's a short course film school for people that don't want to spend 5-6 years in film school. It just gets right down to the basics. I had actually started shooting music videos before I even went to film school, just to get my feet wet.
Yeah.
But more technical aspect, that's what I learned in film school.
Got you. Got you. We talked a little bit about this, and I do want to, like I said, jump into kind of, which I read in your bio, the kind of genesis for, why you started, BayWorld, and, got together with BayWorld. But we talked a little bit about this when we met, about just creating your own IP and your own ideas. Was this something that you always had in mind? Because most artists or most animators, their dream is, I want to go to Disney, I want to work at Pixar, I want to get into these studios. Most filmmakers, they want to jump into doing stuff for the mainstream film studios and things like that. Was it always kind of your idea of, no, I want to make my own stories and I want to do my own thing, as opposed to, well, just get a 9-to-5 job, or a job working at a studio and doing kind of the mainstream type of things?
Honestly, from the very beginning, we wanted to tell our own stories. When it came to animation, just like back at Source Awards when Andre 3000 said Atlanta got something to say, well, we was like the Bay Area got something to say when it comes to animation on the black side. You know what I'm saying? Because we got Pixar and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Shout out to Pixar. But Oakland has something to say in black animation, and so we want to make sure we told an original, true to life story about what living in the Bay Area is for teenagers of all races, and the stuff that they go through that really is just a Bay Area experience. If you're from here, you know it's its own vibe. Bay Area has its own vibe.
Yeah. I picked that up from the people that I met from there. Yeah,
so it's like wherever you go throughout the country, as soon as you say you were from the Bay Area, they always say, "I knew you was from the Bay Area just by how you were moving, how you was talking." They already knew. You know what I'm saying? They just didn't want to say nothing because we have our own vibe. So our stories are original to the landscape of where we're from. And from the very beginning, me and Bruce both said that we're going to tell our story, whether it's controversial or not, whether it gets us canceled or not. We're going to tell our stories because at the end of the day, we have to be proud of what we're doing and not worry about, on the recipient side of what they think about it. We have to tell it the way it needs to be told. And it actually is what has made the company successful, is that people love the way we tell our stories.
Yeah. And we're going to dive and definitely going to dive into your different IPs and your different projects that you're putting out, because they are, like you said, obviously authentically the Bay Area, but they also are really, I'll say a strong cup of coffee for some people. For some people, it could be a strong cup of coffee, for sure. We're definitely going to dive into that as well. Bruce, was that your thought, kind of the same way as, hey, we're telling our own thing. I'm not trying to, get into a studio type of thing. I want to create my own artwork. I want to create my own content type of thing.
Well, I think Chris summed it up when like I said, we grew up in the Bay Area, so we're used to the being exposed to the entrepreneurial spirit that the Bay Area exudes.
Yeah.
A lot of the artists, a lot of the entertainers and stuff like that, that's how they are. So it kind of rubbed off on us. And there's really no one that stepped forward with it from an animation industry aspect of it. So Chris and I have both been in music and video and all of that. I used to run a music label. Chris ran a music production company, so on and so on and so on. But what we wanted to do was to visually convey our thoughts and our experiences, which you don't see a lot of other than the music videos. But with the animation industry, there's plenty of room for that, especially with the tangent that animation is going in lately,
Yeah.
in entertainment lately. So that's when Chris and I started talking about it. It kind of developed on its own because we were already like-minded individuals, and we already had certain feelings about, developing BayWorld. At the time, it wasn't even called BayWorld. We just wanted to work together, and because of the misfortune that we had with Chris's son,
Yeah.
um, we could talk about that a little bit more too, and that'll give you a little bit more, add a little more hue to who we are and what we do and why we do what we do.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I was remembering when I was watching a couple of the episodes of On World and some of your other IP. I think you had mentioned Fruitvale, which I think um, most people would probably know Fruitvale Station and what happened at Fruitvale Station type of thing. If you haven't seen that, it's a great movie for sure, uh, and definitely brought a lot of light, I guess, to what was going on in just that area. And I think you kind of, and like you said, you grew up in the kind of the hip hop era, and was kind of in the music scene, and the whole rap scene between East Coast, West Coast, kind of things that were going on and all of that. So just that lifestyle, I don't think a lot of people, unless you grew up in it and were around it, or came from another area that seemed like every black area was kind of dealing with its own sort of thing at the time, would know about. So with that, how did you approach? Well, I'll take a step back first. And Chris, you don't have to get too deep into it if you don't want to talk about it. But I know you lost your son, and that whole situation. Something like that could easily, take a parent down, a different path, or just have them tune out. How did you channel that? And was it for the fact that you were doing filmmaking already kind of before that, and kind of in that space that allowed you to kind of channel that pain in a positive direction?
Well, first of all, my parents they were not Black Panthers, but they were part of that coalition as far as they helped with the free breakfast programs and stuff like that in San Francisco. They
Yeah.
were a part of the volunteers who helped with that. So the way my mother and father always raised me was like, fight, just always just fight, just never give up. So when this situation happened, which was a horrible tragedy for my entire family, it pretty much broke the family in half
Yeah.
because of the pain everybody was going through. My thing was to do as much as I could to keep his name alive, because a lot of times when people pass away, people just forget who the hell they are.
Yeah.
So I'm like, that's not going to happen with my son, never.
Yeah.
But number two was to try to make sure I do something within my community to help it not happen again to somebody else, or if and when it did happen, I'm there to help them get through it. So immediately I hit the ground running, starting the foundation. At first it was called the Von World Foundation. We have turned it into the BayWorld Foundation now. And through the program that I had started, I went to San Quentin prison like 5 different times. I talked to lifers as well as a lot of the youngsters that were getting out with short bids, 7, 8 year bids, about changing their lives around. I also did some work with the Oakland Police Department ceasefire program, where I met with a lot of the gangbangers that were out of jail, but they were in so much trouble that they were getting ready to go to jail. I met with those young men and got with some partners, some businesses and stuff like that, and got them jobs to get them out of the streets. So I just hit the ground running because, like I said, my parents always raised me to just fight. Like, life is going to be hard. Things are going to happen. You have to fight. So it never crossed my mind to give up and kind of just call it quits. Or I put it like this: I met I've met women and men from all over the country who's lost kids too. I met one woman who lost 4 kids in Chicago. All her kids got killed. 4.
Yeah.
One of them was a girl. Like all her
Yeah.
kids. So a lot of people have a lot of strength out there. The thing is, they don't really know how to channel it. So my job was to kind of help them navigate of what they can do next, as far as getting assistance from the city, any mental assistance, financial assistance, any type of assistance, helping people with that, and really just helping my community. Because at the end of the day, I've also met women who kids were killed, and the fathers of those kids killed themselves,
Yeah.
suicide, because they
Yeah.
couldn't handle losing a child. And I get it. That never crossed my mind, but I get it, because it's
Yeah.
so much pain to deal with. You kind of just want the pain to be over with.
Yeah. Yeah.
You just want
yeah.
it to be over with. So I get why somebody would think that way, or even do it. It just never crossed my mind, because I just wasn't raised like that.
Yeah.
Life
Yeah.
can be hard. You fight through it. You figure out a way to get through it, and that's that. So when my son passed away, and I did all the work I was doing in my community, Bruce had made this big poster board of a cartoon drawing of my son
Yeah.
holding up his number 9 jersey. So I just, out of curiosity, I hit up Bruce and I was like, "Hey, Bruce, you think like we can do a cartoon with my son?" He was like, "Yeah," and that sparked the whole idea right there. That sparked everything.
Everything.
Just his generosity and my curiosity of saying, well, can we actually make this happen? And when he said yes, it changed. My life changed after that. If he'd
Yeah.
have said no, I have no idea where the hell we'd be right now.
Like
But the
now,
fact he
yeah.
said yes, he said yes immediately. He's like, "Yeah, we can." I was like, "Okay, cool." So we started cooking right then and there. And like he said, like Bruce said, we didn't even have a company. We just had a Facebook page called BayWorld.
Yeah.
And all it was small clips of 2 to 3 minutes of the animated series of BayWorld.
Yeah.
We were just doing small clips, and then it started growing and catching fire on YouTube and stuff like that, to where it's at now, to where we almost like 200,000 strong on subscribers and followers across all social media platforms. And we built something that people love. And even if we wanted to change it in any way, they wouldn't let us change it. They like it the way it is. They like it authentic like it is. And because at one point in time, I wanted to change the opening theme song, just make it new and refresh it. And even my kids and their friends was on me like, "Nah, Pops, nope. Leave it exactly how it is.
Leave it the way it is."
I changed nothing. So I was like, damn, people have spoken. I just let it go. But
yeah.
it is what it is, man.
Yeah, and life has a way of bringing the right people together at the right time. When it's supposed to happen. Bruce, building. I mean, as you guys have been building BayWorld, what's been kind of some of the I guess biggest challenges that you faced just in bringing BayWorld and your animations to life?
Well, the biggest challenge, I think, is in bringing it to life is, first of all, is the plan itself. Because the thing is that there's so many different ways that we could have brought this out. We could have taken it to someone else and said, "Hey, can you help us put this together?" Or, "Hey, can we put this on your platform?" Or, "Hey, can we market and promote with you, or you with us, or what have you?" But like Chris said, I think when you use the A word, that kind of puts the whole thing in a bow. We wanted it authentic, because when it came to BayWorld, there's no other cartoon like it. It's interesting because as we were putting out the episodes and stuff, people were coming up to us and they were loving it and they were congratulating us, but they looked at us like we were filling a niche since Boondocks really hasn't produced any new episodes. So we were looked at as the replacement for Boondocks. But when you actually watch BayWorld and you get into the subject matter and the things that we do with it. The only similarities between Boondocks and Von World is that it's animated
Yeah.
by Black people. And that's it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And that's no shade on Boondocks, and we know
Yeah.
those guys. We know the guys from Boondocks personally.
Yeah.
But that's what we mean to say is that Von World is its own entity, and
Yeah.
it represents a different time period than even what Boondocks did. It's interesting because Dave Vaughn, Chris's son, was a huge Boondocks fan,
Yeah.
huge, and so it was only right for us to kind of continue in that, at least in that stream,
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
we create this show dedicated to him. And we always say, no matter what we do and what we want to do with the show, the spirit of our world is what wins. That's
Yeah.
the deciding vote.
Yeah.
And we want to keep that feeling of why the show was created, what the show is about. Yeah, it's a comedy show about four 14-year-old boys coming to age, but it's the subject matter that we put into the show that kind of leaves it on its own,
Yeah.
where it stands on its own.
Yeah.
And we represent that generation, or that generation of people. I would call them people, not kids, but people that they dealt with the deaths and the crime, and they dealt with broken families. They deal with issues in life that maybe we didn't even face as when we were kids, to that degree.
Yeah.
So one thing I appreciate when Chris first started writing Von World, we wrote the first episode. The one thing I tell immediately in the script is that he drew from real life experiences. These boys are actually based on some of the experiences that the boys have gone through in losing their best friend. Devon was a community leader for his age group. He was. He wasn't just an average kid and some old kid, and that went to school and went home and that was it. He had accomplished a lot in his life for the 14 years he was here on the earth.
Yeah.
And a lot of people in the city, it wasn't just Chris's family that felt it. A lot of people in the city felt it, so that's just how big of a spirit it was, and why it is important that Devon's spirit doesn't die. It continues to live even beyond when we're gone. And we know that this show is very important in being the foundation or the staple for that continues. So even after we're gone, it's still in the right hands it needs to be to tell the story that needs to be told.
Yeah, for sure. I want to throw in a few comments there. Mr. DeMille, having visited the San Francisco Bay Area multiple times, it's definitely a unique place. I look forward to watching the work you all are producing. It definitely is a unique place. I have a friend that I graduated with. Like I said, I'm from a small town Midwest in Ohio, and my friend that we graduated together, he loves California and the Bay Area. He can't see himself really anywhere else. He just loves it, and definitely, like you said, it's its own kind of entity in and of itself. It's got its own vibe. And I want to ask you, obviously, Von World and the content that you're creating has gained its own kind of following, with your subscriber base. But again, it is a very kind of in your face, which most people aren't used to, or from the animations and the cartoons that they're getting now are kind of seen. Even on some of the more adult anime style stuff, it's a different kind of it's a different flavor. Really, like you said, most Black people will understand it because we all kind of grew up in that kind of things of what was going on. But it's definitely not your mainstream kind of animation. Like, say, even Boondocks was kind of for what it was, went through its controversies and the things that it was talking about. So it's definitely way stronger than, like you said, the type of content that Boondocks was. What is that something that, like you said, you're always looking to be authentic to, your where you're from, who you are. But is that something that you keep in mind or think about when you're pulling in other content and creating other content? Just the mainstream ability of it, or are you just solely focused on, hey, this is, the stories we want to tell, and we're just going to be true, regardless of whether it offends some people, turns some people off, or what? Because being in Hollywood and film, a lot of people will bend for the dollars, and change their voice as they start to try to ascend at this certain space.
The the quick answer is no. We're not going to ever change what we do just to fit in now. However, we will make a show that's easily digestible, like It's the Vandenbergs,
Mm-hmm.
which is about a whole nother family living in Piedmont. That is more for the broader audience. So we understand we're in business. We got to be able to do business with other people. So we have made something that's a little bit more easily digestible by everybody. But when it comes to the flagship Vine World and some of the spin-offs from Vine World, like Womanhood and Code of the Streets and stuff like that, we're going to tell the stories how they need to be told.
Yeah.
We're not going to change it up because it's based in reality. And if we take the reality out of it, it's just another cookie cutter show, and that's not what we're trying to do with our company. Yeah. We don't mind a little bit of controversy, especially if it's coming from a pure, genuine place.
Yeah.
The one thing I can say, and even when I watch interviews of different animators from the Boondocks clique, they were drumming up a lot of the stuff to create the controversy. We're not doing that. We're just telling the story. Yeah. So if it becomes controversial, it's just because what the story is. But we're not going to drum up controversy just to get clicks and likes, and we don't do that stuff.
Yeah, no.
But,
Yeah, no, and I definitely picked that up as I was watching some of the episodes. It was like, okay, I get it. And like I said, I know kids like that. I've gone through situations and seen that type of thing. Like I said, I think people that have grown up, as blacks, growing up in the neighborhood, we're used to seeing different things and experiences. Some to a different degree than others, but we all have experienced the same things as far as drugs or girls or police or whatever it may be. We all, kind of know where it's coming from. As you're creating your own thing with BayWorld, how are you, and you're seeing the stuff that's coming out now, the content, what's your kind of take on the industry? Both from an animation and from filmmaking, because you're also doing live stuff as well.
Right. We're just taking it all in and trying to stay current with the times, trying to stay up to date with everything going on. Like right now, you got the big thing is like NFTs and stuff like that. Like we're just staying up to date with everything that's going on, but our main thing is getting out incredible stories and animation, remaining true to BayWorld, to the identity of BayWorld. Me personally, being very detailed in the stories and conveying that to Bruce so he can really start really cooking in the kitchen, getting the animation together and stuff like that. And we're trying to carve our own niche in the industry to where when you see something of BayWorld, before you even know BayWorld did it, that's a BayWorld thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Similar to a Pixar. You can just see something and be like, that's Pixar.
Yeah.
So we want the same thing with BayWorld. We want to be the go-to 2D animation company that people come to get the real stories about Bay Area life. Because going back to what I was saying before, these stories or just the reality of it. Even me as a 14-year-old boy in Oakland, I got shot at. I
Yeah.
could have been killed at the same age as my son. My parents would have never known.
Yeah.
It Death just avoided me that day. And on top of that, I've lost over 28 friends, including my son, to murder in Oakland. So when we
Yeah.
tell these stories, it's coming from the realest place you could ever imagine. Life. It's
Yeah.
coming from life.
Yeah.
Now, within Von World, it is a comedy animation. So it's all about fun. Because remember, teenage boys have fun. They're gonna have their laughs, giggles, talk to the girls, all that other stuff. But it's based in reality. You know, even through tragedy, there's comedy, there's reality, there's good times, there's bad times. So you're gonna see a little bit of everything in Von World and pretty much everything we do. But to keep it real, BayWorld is we just doing us right now. We want people to accept us for who we are. And so far, like I said, the people have spoken and they've said they love what we do.
Yeah. Yeah. Bruce, was 2D a conscious choice for you? And also, is 3D something that you think about as far as maybe not your own IP, but just all the other IP content that you may be curating to bring under BayWorld? Because, as you know, animation is not it's not an easy process for sure, and it definitely takes a lot of work. But was 2D kind of from your graphic design kind of background and your illustration kind of background a conscious choice of why you decided to do this in Bond World, specifically Bond World in 2D?
Yeah, I mean, it really just depends on the project, the content of the project, and so forth. I mean, animation's changing all the time, as far as like from a technical aspect of it. And you can see some of the changes even with Sony Pictures, what they did with the multiverse for Spider-Man, Miles Morales stuff.
Yeah.
That's a amalgamation of 2D and 3D.
And 3D,
But what's interesting is that there's a lot more 2D elements than there is the 3D elements. The 3D elements is really to create the flow, the camera animation and stuff like that. But at the heart and core of it is the 2D animation. And the reason why the 2D animation, at least in my experience, it's that much more effective is that you have a lot more freedom with expression. When it comes to expression, emotion, and even some of the action as well from a 2D perspective. Look at a genre like anime. Anime is very heavy in action and effects and stuff like that, but you don't see anime in 3D. Why is that?
No.
And the reason why is because the translation of the content is far more effective in a 2D space than it would be in a 3D space. So 3D animation has its place. It does. Just like 2D animation has its place. In regards to BayWorld, we embrace all of it. So we will venture into 3D, no doubt, in the future. We got a couple little things under our belt for that. But for the most part, our focus right now is on the 2D experience with Von World. And if you think about it, and I know you're a graphic designer yourself too, Don, if you were to see those same stories in 3D than what you've seen in 2D, would they have the same impact?
No, definitely. Like you, I agree with you. Some things work so much better in 2D than 3D. Some things, work better. Like I said, I've seen some or not even animation. Like you, I was a big comic strip fan more than a comic book as I was growing up. And so I was a big Peanuts fan. I love Peanuts and Charlie Brown and Snoopy. I just, I was just big Peanuts. But the 3D version was pretty well done because they stuck pretty close. Really went along with the comic strip. But it definitely doesn't compare to the classic Charlie Brown Christmas 2D styles. It just doesn't. And then I was also another comic strip I loved was Bloom County. It's a very clever comic strip, and then they did some kind of 2D Christmas special, and I was like, some things shouldn't be translated, whether it's 2D or 3D. Some things should just be left in the form that they're created in, which is why I had such respect for. I was also a big Calvin and Hobbes. I love Calvin and Hobbes. He wasn't letting any merchandising done for Calvin and Hobbes, because he just wanted it to stay true to the form that he was creating it in, which was a comic strip and books. So you won't find any Calvin and Hobbes, type of stuff, or merchandising or films or animations. So I do agree with you that some things they're great in the form that they are, and some things are hard to translate into other forms as well, for sure. And I want to get I haven't seen this yet, but I want to get your thoughts on it. It's been, DeMille threw this question in. He wished he could have done the remake of Good Times. I haven't watched it. I haven't watched the animated thing, but, I don't know if you've seen it. And what
I haven't.
your kind of thoughts on it are, but I don't know.
I haven't, and I'm curious to watch it. I'm not the type of person that somebody says, "Oh, like Beyonce doing a country album." Oh, Beyonce doing a country album. That's okay. Let's hear it.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see what it sounds like, but I'm not going to be that guy. I never have been that guy. I never will be that guy that it's like, oh, you're doing something new or you're trying something different. Why are you doing that? Just leave it as it is, because it could be a good thing, a good thing, but at the same time, if in doing that, continue to pay homage to the foundation, continue to pay homage to where it started, because Good Times has I don't know about you guys, but Good Times has a very special place in my heart.
Oh yeah,
A very special place in my heart. You can't just be like, oh, we're gonna do another Good Times, and I'm like, oh, okay, cool. It's not like that. It's literally like, you better not mess that up.
Yeah.
Good Times is one of those.
And I think it's a person that really appreciates the original for what it was and what it is, that could translate it and do a great job and a better job at translating it over to something. I also think, you remember the PJs? PJs
Eddie Murphy,
Eddie Murphy. That was another really good. That was claymation, so that was another great form. But it was it goes a long way to how you can tell stories and funny situations that people can kind of relate to.
But you know what? Also, being a filmmaker and studying film and everything that's going on, what a lot of people need to understand in Hollywood is that some pieces of art, like Good Times, Chico and the Man and stuff like that, they were only meant for that period in time. They were not meant to be remade and thrown in 2024 with the same type of dialogue and the same type of characters. We know those characters would get canceled in 2024. I don't know why they keep thinking that they can throw those characters into right now and think that it's going to be cool, because they tried it. I don't know if y'all remember a few years ago, 3-4 years ago, they did that whole thing on Norman Lear did that thing on ABC with Jamie Foxx and them doing the Jeffersons and the Archie Bunker and them. And people did not like that.
Yeah,
a lot of people did not like. That's why I only did it that one show, because people was like, "You can't talk like that now. You can't call black people colored people." Correct. You cannot take stuff that came out 50 years ago and throw it in 2024 and say, "Oh, this will work. This will work fine."
Oh man,
no, leave it alone, man.
Oh man. Well, it is. It is interesting that you said that, because I don't think it's come out yet. but I've seen like the commercials for it on my game. But they're doing the Fall Guy. You remember that show with Lee Majors?
Lee Majors.
And I'm like, so I think that's what gets me with I guess Hollywood, and why people are so starved for just original stuff. I mean, we're tired of seeing the remakes of things. Is that your feeling, that it's all about they're just trying to see whether they can make some money, and they don't really want to feel like they take the time to curate original content?
Honestly, it's just a money grab. They know that a lot of these originals from back in the day has an audience, and they just want to grab that audience, and they're assuming that the kids and the grandkids of that audience will come along for the ride, and they'll just be to pull them along. But in actuality, the original audience of all those old shows, they'd rather you leave those shows alone. They don't want you to do remakes.
Yeah.
Like, even when they did Coming to America Part 2, I was like, that's a horrible idea. Leave that movie alone, man. Why are you trying to redo that movie? Leave it alone.
Oh, man. Yeah, I agree with you, Chris. Some things should just be left.
But here's the thing, though. When I got online and said it on my social media, they flamed me up for saying that. They was like, oh, it's always the black people putting the black man down, and the black this, the black that. I'm like, but it was a bad idea. Like, I can't say it was a bad idea.
Oh,
like,
man.
They were trying to, if I was really famous, they would have tried to cancel me because I said Coming to America Part 2 was a horrible movie. They did not like me saying that at all.
Oh, Lord.
Because their idea was a black man should never have an opinion about another black man's product. What?
Yeah. And I think it also comes down to like I said, story. And, the person's, I guess whoever makes it, if they're a true fan, they have consumed the original content. They love the original content. And they're going to be true to whatever it is that they're creating or remaking, in the future. Like I said, I think there are some remakes, I guess, that are good, but I think it goes back to the script writer or the writer, the creator is a fan of of whatever it is, which I think is why some of the Marvel movies are pretty good, because the creator was a fan of the comic books, and so really kind of tried to stay true to the original and be respectful to the fan base that the original did, as opposed to, wow, this superhero didn't do this or is saying this type of thing, and so I think, like I said, which is why I love what you're doing with BayWorld, because it puts this independent creator to the forefront, where they're more conscious of their own content, being authentic to their own stories, and putting it out regardless. How do you feel? And I always say that I think this is a great time for independent creators, because you got all of these platforms that you can put your own content out there. Is that how you've seen it, with just, like I said, growing your YouTube channel with that, as opposed to, trying to take Von World to a company and trying to sell it, to get it out there, that, hey, we got this, we're in this time now where we got our own channels where we can go directly to the audience and show them the stories that we want to tell them?
Oh yeah, most definitely. Most definitely. We just came from the Afro Animation Summit in Burbank a couple weeks ago, and connected with some folks, reconnected with some folks. And the number one message is, and we talked to everybody from Pixar to Disney to Sony to Warner Brothers to Marvel, to the whole thing is that, hey, if you can do it on your own, do it on your own. Put it out there.
Yeah.
You know, don't wait to if Nickelodeon says, "Yeah, we don't like this show," or "No, we don't have no use for your show." Oh man, oh well, there goes that idea. It's like, yo, man, that's just you know what I'm
Oh
saying? You're
man.
not doing this for them. You're doing this for you. You're doing this for your audience. Find
Yeah.
your audience and make
Yeah.
that ish happen. That's what it boils down to. You know, we're in
Yeah.
that time period right now, and you see it around you, where there is a changing in Hollywood. There's a lot of changes happening in Hollywood right now.
Yeah.
And Chris and I, we feel like we're in a prime spot right now as far as delivering to people what they want without the ESRB and the FCC and the FAA or whoever else wants to get involved in saying what we can and can't say or put out.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, we do this for the people, man. This is what the people want. And
Yeah.
part of it that's what, as far as what we want, is the authenticity of it. Being authentic right now is the thing.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It's for real.
Yeah.
If you fake, if you phony, if you fronting and all that other stuff, it will be seen. And when it's seen, you will get cooked.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we're in a society right now where, man, there's a lot of chefs out there, man. They just can't wait to throw your ass in a pot and watch it
They
boil
say slice you up
for
and watch
whatever
you.
reason.
That's true. True. You don't want to be a Jussie Smollett right now. You don't want to be doing that type of stuff. I'm just saying. I'm just throwing that out there. You don't want to be doing the Jussie Smollett type stuff. You want to be very authentic.
Oh man,
Don't make
that's the
up
big
no story.
takeaway from that, man. Be honest with you.
Look, I'm not even to be political. It's like it was like I've never been a Trump dude, but even I was like, you shouldn't have done that to Mega. Don't throw in the Mega hat and make up this whole fake story. Like, don't do stuff like that. Like if bad guys are gonna be bad guys, let them be real bad guys. Don't make up a bad guy to make this group of people look horrible. Like you wouldn't want that done to black people. Don't do that to the other side. Like keep it real. So authenticity is the only thing that we are about at BayWorld. We're gonna tell our stories. It's been working, and I thank God every day for him connecting me to Bruce and for us to have like we business partners, but we like brothers.
Yeah.
So the fact that we can tell a story, do business with each other, but then conversate outside of business because we're family and our families are now connected. I thank God for that every day because I've been in situations, and Bruce has too, to where you're in a horrible business position with certain people. Like it's just a bad business partner, and they're just making all these mistakes, blowing the money and all this other stuff. I couldn't be in a better situation than being a partner with Bruce, and also, like you guys were saying, the time we're in to where you don't really need Hollywood to tell your story anymore. Just tell the damn story. You got YouTube, it's free. Build an audience, cultivate your channel, and grow from there. And when Hollywood comes knocking, then you make them break off a big check. But you can start a foundation by yourself on your own.
Hey, what's his name? The Beast. He's a prime example.
Oh my God.
Mr. Beast.
They threw billions at him. So
he is the ultimate goal of where you want to be as far as a content creator, or not even just on the YouTube space, just a content creator. He's built up such a big fan base that if YouTube stopped today, his fan base is going to follow him wherever he goes.
Oh, wherever he goes.
It doesn't matter that it wouldn't even matter that YouTube doesn't exist anymore. He has built such a fan base, they will follow him. So in hindsight, that's all we've been trying to do from the very beginning is build brand awareness to where no matter what happens, no matter whether we get a network deal or not, wherever BayWorld goes, our fan base is going to follow us, support us, and help share our stories with us.
Yeah. Now he is, like you said, the kind of gold standard of just independent building a business and build your. And I've said this a number of times on the show to up and coming artists or animators or whatever. Okay, yeah, your goal or your dream may to be to work at Pixar or whatever. But if you have an idea and a story, you've got all these channels to put your own story and market it yourself. And trust me, if you get a big enough following, they will come and knocking on your door just like on the Beast. They'll come knocking and calling for you if they see that your audience is just massive. And like I said, Bruce, this is kind of a changing time that we live in as far as Hollywood and creators. You know, they're starting to realize the power that they have within their hands to put their own stories, partner with other creative people to create their stories, and put it out directly to the masses, and build an audience to where, okay, I don't need, Disney or Pixar or whatever the big company is to get this out there. I can speak directly to my audience, and they'll tell me what they like and don't like, and I can adjust from there. So that's why I love, like I said, this time that we live in, because it's such a great time for creators. You just spoke on. I was hoping to get out there this year, Afro animation, and what Keith and Rio are doing with that. What were some of the other takeaways that you kind of pulled from going to that event, and conversating with the people that you did? What were some of the things that you kind of took away that you're looking to use or not use with BayWorld and what you're doing?
Well, the biggest thing for me, and I know Chris could speak on his experience, but the biggest thing for me that I felt was camaraderie. BayWorld got a lot of love at Afro Animation. Quite a few people knew who we were already. And it was just nice to see that, the director of Marvel's X-Men, hey, what's up, man? When we gonna do lunch? And it's not fake.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, Bruce Smith, hope I can say his name on here. Bruce Smith,
Bruce.
the other
I'm
Bruce.
trying to get him
Yeah.
on. Bruce Smith, yeah.
Yeah, that's the homie.
Yeah.
One thing he said is that he appreciates about the industry is there's no beefs. So if you're coming into the industry and you trying to make beefs, you trying to come up on beefs or shortcuts, you'll get called out. You'll probably get snuffed out.
Yeah.
Because one thing that you can't do is disrespect the talent in the industry by cutting corners or faking you're one way or one thing and you're not. But as long as you're authentic, and that's that word again, as long as you're authentic and true and you believe in what you're doing, and you support others in the same way, you can thrive in the industry. We'll run side by side with DreamWorks. We'll run side by side with Sony. Who knows? We'll work together with Pixar on a 3D project.
Yeah.
The possibilities are limitless, but you got to have the right mental attitude. You got to have the right disposition, because they could smell that a mile away.
What about you, Chris? What was some of the takeaways that you kind of took from the event?
To piggyback on what Bruce said, it felt like that was my first time going. I think that was Bruce's second.
Yeah.
Okay.
So for my first experience, it felt like I had become a part of a fraternity. Like, it felt like family. I met a lot of people through Bruce that are literally from the same place I'm from. We just never crossed paths.
Yeah.
So we became cool. And like what Bruce was saying is like everybody that spoke on every panel that we saw was about being themselves, being authentic, and not stepping on the backs of other people to lift yourself up. It's like, if you're good, one of the speakers said, if you're good, just let your talent speak for itself. You don't have to do nothing to nobody else.
Yeah.
You don't have to badmouth them on the job and, badmouth them to the boss or nothing like that. Just be the best version of you, and let talent speak for itself. And I love that about it because everybody was about uplifting each other. The women uplifting the men, men uplifting the women, and just telling the real stories about what it felt like being a black animator in Hollywood. And I learned a lot about what they go through because I kind of go through the same thing in the filmmaking, arena where it's just like, really, if you ask the average person their favorite black directors, they're gonna name like I already know 3 of the names they're gonna name. Like,
go ahead and give it to me, Chris. Let me see if mine or what. Let me see what I was thinking of.
If I ask the average person, not even black person, this average person, name me 3 black directors, they're gonna say Spike Lee. They're gonna say probably John Singleton.
Okay.
They probably now will say
Ryan
Coogler, yeah.
And then they probably will say the Hughes brothers. That's kind of where it stops right there.
Yeah. Well,
if they know anything a little bit more about movies, they'll go Antoine Fuqua, stuff like that. But it'll probably end with like 4 or 5 black directors. Yeah. Like we don't even exist in Hollywood. Like black directors don't even exist. They named the same 4 or 5 people.
Well, all of mine were kind of on there. But like I said, I loved, I thought Sidney Poitier was a great director in the things that he directed. A lot of people may not know that. Sidney Poitier directed a bunch of stuff. So there's a lot of directors out there, and which is one of the reasons why I do the show is to really expose people to people of color that they wouldn't have thought, were working in the space that they do. And I think that's the shame of what we have to, what we as blacks and people of color go through. We have to feel like I said, just getting lost in the sea of kind of the main ones and then the ones that don't look like us. When there's so many out there that pioneered way before even Sidney Poitier directed, or before him, there was so many more before him that just never gotten the props. And it was funny because I was watching the documentary on Netflix the other day. Am I black enough for it? Is this black enough for you? And they were just talking about just the history of blacks in Hollywood and just the people you would have never known or heard about. So that's why outlets like Afro Animation, BayWorld, dare I say the Color of Motion, that's why these things exist, to really expose people, because they wouldn't have heard about it. Things like that were stuff I would have killed for being younger, having those type of things around to really expose us that, hey, this is something that you can do if you really want to do it. And there are people of color doing it.
I can actually go back to middle school when I was in the 7th grade. Something changed that I never even knew existed. I mean, being from the hood, like we had career day. So mostly everybody's parents were 9-to-5 workers. So nobody's parents came. So I'm just saying, like, nobody's parents came. So the teacher had brought in a lawyer, right? The teacher brought in a lawyer. The teacher told us a lawyer was coming to talk to us, tell us about law and how we can get into it if we wanted to. I bullshit you not. We all assumed a white guy was going to walk into the room. Mm-hmm. We saw a black face. We were shocked. This was like 1984. None of us knew nothing about black lawyers. Black lawyers existed. No. The only thing they showed on TV was a white guy, a white judge.
Yeah.
And white lawyers. You never saw black lawyers argue anything on TV in the 80s. That didn't even exist.
No, they were usually sitting next to the lawyer.
They were the criminals. Black people was the criminals.
They were usually sitting next to the lawyer.
Right. So when the guy walked in, he didn't even know how to start the conversation with us because our mouths were wide open when he walked in.
Wow.
As people were like, "You're a lawyer?" Like most of the questions that he was like, before I started, anybody have any questions? Every question was like, "Are you a real lawyer? Are you really a lawyer? Every single question. Every single question. So
Oh, wow.
it's great that in animation they get to see
Yeah.
guys like Bruce, that's a black animator, to show that, yeah, black guys make animation too.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Chris is a black screenwriter. Black guys write stories too. It's
Yeah.
great that kids nowadays can actually see us and actually talk to us, whether it's through the DM or however they contact us. But it's
Yeah.
great because when I was younger, like you said, we didn't have that.
Yeah.
We couldn't talk to anybody that was a professional in the entertainment industry at all. They were just off limits.
Yeah.
A conversation with thinking back in the 80s and 90s that you was going to ever meet Denzel Washington was impossible. And it's probably still impossible today, but it was definitely impossible back then.
Back then, yeah.
Like it was definitely impossible. But at least
that's pretty
now,
good because I'm a little bit. I'm more 70s, maybe. Like I said, I graduated in '84, so I'm pretty much kind of 70s, late 70s, and that definitely wasn't something that they did to brought in somebody of color, you know. So
no, it didn't happen. And the great part about it was that this particular teacher at my middle school was a white teacher, so I always give her props, Miss Robinson, for bringing in a black.
Yeah.
She knew most of her class was black kids. She brought in a black lawyer.
Yeah.
I always appreciated that. Even to this day, I'm like, she could have easily just went with the narrative of bringing in a white guy, but a black lawyer to show us that you can achieve this too.
Yeah.
You know, at that particular time, I want to say he said because when he was throwing these numbers out, we were just amazed because our parents were 9-to-5 workers. They was making $15 an hour or less.
Yeah.
When he was talking about he was making six figures, we was like, we thought he was stupid rich. We thought he was filthy rich. Like, you making $100,000 or more?
Oh man!
Like when our parents was making like $23,000 a year, like he making 5 times the salary. So I always appreciated that. So that's also why I don't like the narrative when you hear a lot of celebrities and people say, "Well, our teachers never cared about us. Our teachers didn't." No, I've had some teachers some teachers who weren't black who actually cared about.
They actually cared. Yeah, no, trust me. I've had pretty much all my teachers were great teachers, and I don't even think I had a black teacher. There were a couple. I probably not until I got into high school. Grade school, it was all white. Grade school and kind of junior high, it was pretty much white. But I say to this day, and it's always great when you have somebody that believes in your talent, believes in you, that encourages you. Everybody needs somebody that encourages you. And like I said, I had a counselor. She was white, great counselor all through, and she went out of her way because she knew my talent and what I was good at. Pulling up, hey, you need to check out this art school, or you need to apply for this grant or that grant. So she was always pulling out information and providing me with options because she knew and believed in what I wanted to do. So like I said, it's not just a black thing or a white thing. You'll find somebody of all races that is going to be there for you and support whatever it is that you're trying to do, for sure. Goose, it looked like you wanted to say something there. I don't know.
No. I'm soaking it in.
Everybody just joining in. We've been having we are having an amazing conversation with my guys Bruce Bowers and Christopher Ellis, the founders of BayWorld Unlimited, an independent IP animated studio. Let me throw in this comment from Demille. I could tell you they should have someone who knew that they were doing with Good Times. It's embarrassing in the sense that it promotes stereotypes. It has very little to do with it. Now, I already knew that. It didn't have anything to do with the show, but that was kind of my thing for kind of avoiding it. It was like, this seems like the typical kind
They
of
didn't even
stereotype.
they didn't even include anybody from the original cast. Like Jimmy
Cast,
Walker,
yeah.
he's still alive.
Yeah,
Like
Jimmy Walker, yeah, still
Just
alive.
just
Thelma,
call it something else.
yeah.
It's like what's that movie? Chris bashed the hell out of this movie, Superfly. I
Oh,
love Ron O'Neill's Superfly. I don't know if you've seen the new Superfly. I watched both of them, and it's like this ain't Superfly. Why did they
oh
call it
man.
Superfly? Call it
hey,
something else.
that's and see this the thing. I get in a lot of trouble with my fellow filmmakers over this stuff because
You a hater,
I just tell the
Chris.
truth. I just tell the truth, man. Like I watch a movie and it is what it is. But my main thing is this: if you're gonna spend the resources on casting talent, paying for the cameramen, actual camera equipment, lighting, stuff like that. If you're gonna do all that, make sure it's a solid script
Yeah,
and you took the time to cast people.
yeah.
I get tired of seeing filmmakers put their wives and their kids in these damn films and nobody know how to act. The camera is shaking, so nobody got the camera on a tripod or a stabilizer. Like as a filmmaker, that irritates me. It's just like you probably spent $15,000-$20,000 getting all this stuff together, catering, because you got to feed people. Why take all that time and effort and resources to make something that looks like crap, and then show it to me and expect me to not tell you the truth?
Oh man. Well, again, it comes down to the creator. Like I said, I've seen some pretty low budget films that were really well. That the story was great. Like I said, obviously, you work within your budget, but I think you can make it and make it work for you. I'm a big believer of it starts with the story. Obviously, if the story's not good, doesn't matter what you dress it up in, CGI, whatever it is. We've seen enough of those $20-30 million movies that have bombed because they just wanted to throw in CGI and they didn't really take the time to craft a great story. And that's one thing that I will say I've learned from Pixar. Story. Story. And that's why every one of their films is great because they start with the story and they go from there.
I've been
crafting the characters.
I've been offered jobs from other people to write stories for them, whether it's animation, film, whatever. So but my whole thing is, if I'm gonna take the time to write an incredible story, it's gonna be for BayWorld. So I've had to turn people down as far as writing stories for them because my company comes first, and I can't write an A+ story for BayWorld and say, well, since I'm writing for somebody else, I'm gonna give you a B- story. That's not how my story writing works.
Yeah.
If I write, I'm writing for the best, and if it's gonna be the best, it's gonna be for my company.
Yeah.
Like that's the only way I see it. Like so, but the interesting thing is, filmmakers actually want the truth, but they want it face-to-face, one-on-one. So I have recently went to several premieres from my fellow independent filmmakers, and people are clapping. The movie got a shit ton of mistakes, right? But I'm going to support. I go to support. I pay my money. I go to support because they're friends. So what will happen is they get a lot of accolades from family members and friends who just love that they made a movie. But what they'll do is, hey, Chris, they'll call me and they'll say, hey, Chris, I need to know what you thought about my movie. Because they know I'm telling the truth.
Yeah.
So in the end, they actually do want to know the truth, but they just want to know it. Don't embarrass them about the truth. They just want to know it from your perspective. What could have been done better?
Yeah,
blah, blah,
an honest
blah, blah,
critique,
blah.
an honest critique about what they, what they could work better at or what works.
Yeah, because they know in the end, I want them to make better films. I'm not putting them down by no stretch of imagination. I'm just telling them, yo, next time work better with the DP. Next time maybe get a different DP because this guy chose the wrong lenses for this shot. Like I'm breaking it down for them. They writing it down as I'm telling them, but every time I tell them about their films, the next film, it gets a little bit better, and that's my whole point.
Yeah.
Get better every time. I don't want to keep seeing you make the same film that looks just as horrible every time I see your damn film.
Yeah.
I need to
Yeah.
see growth. I need to see growth. Your name is attached to it, and I need to see growth. When people ask me, like, Chris, you did Hope's Identity 10 years ago. Why you never did another film? Because until I'm ready to do it with the budget I need to do it the way I need to do it, my next film can sit and wait. I'm not in no rush to make a bunch of bullshit.
Yeah.
I know a lot of directors just want to put out a bunch of content that isn't good. I'm not one of those. I'm a Dr. Dre of filmmaking. If it take me 15 years to make my next film, then it'll just gonna take me 15 years. Like, it's gonna get done my way, or it ain't gonna get done.
Oh,
I'm not gonna
man.
compromise. I'm not gonna have a film budget of 500,000, but I only got 120, so I just gonna have to make it work. No, I need the 500,000 because it is allocated for this, and this to make it look a certain way, to make it
Yeah.
a certain way, and I'm just not willing to compromise on that end.
Yeah.
And that's just how I am personally. And me and Bruce are the same way with our animation company. Like, we don't compromise on story, quality, animation, music, scoring, Foley. We don't compromise on none of that stuff. We do it A+ every time, or we don't do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, that's all. We do it right, or we don't do it.
And speaking on that, is that I would say a requirement that it is a high budget, or because, like I said, I've seen, great directors do a great film on something that's not the typical norm of what they give films and budget, for films like millions. You may see some that do some for a couple of 100,000, or or maybe a couple of million, where other films are given 30 or 40 million and they bomb. But a director or company is, okay, well, we're not really totally behind this, but we'll give you a couple of million to do this, when it may clearly take 30 or 40 million to do it. So is that kind of something where the story may dictate kind of the budget that you may allocate to it, or like whether you do it, say, almost guerrilla style, but produce something of quality? Because like I said, I think it comes down, obviously, and this is with animation, I've seen great just simple animations. There's an animation on Netflix now, and it's a 2D drawing. It's just 2D line drawing, and it's called "In Case I Don't See You, I Love You." And it was about a girl that got killed in a school shooting, and it was just very well done. But it was a simple 2D line drawing animation. So, is that kind of your leading factor of story, where the story goes, and what the medium is, and what the things that are going to be involved into making it budget wise, to where, okay, I got a great story, there's maybe I think we could do this in, like I said, say a simple 2D animation style. But yeah, I guess every director, whether they're animation or whether they're live action, would love a big budget to put all into their project. But obviously not everyone gets that. But still, they may come up with something that tells their story in a effective way, and a way that's true to them. Is that something that you kind of keep in mind as well, or it's just like you were saying, hey, this is the way we want to do it, and this movie requires, or this whatever this project requires, 5 million, 10 million, whatever it is, to do it, as opposed to sitting down saying, well, okay, we got this budget, we can tell this story, or we can tell maybe a portion of this story. Like there's a lot of animators that'll do, a short just to get, the budget and the funding to do that. Well, which also goes into this being a great time. You can fund your movie. There's GoFundMe, there's Kickstarter. So there's all these options out here to get your project out here, to get dollars behind it, to at least get you going on it. Are those things that you keep in mind as well, as far as, well, we got this idea, let's put a Kickstarter together, we build a base, we got, enough content behind us, and see what we create to see how it may snowball? Is that another thing that you may think about when you're getting together to work on a project or thinking about a project?
The one thing I want you to remember when it comes to BayWorld Unlimited, when we named the company, we called it, if you notice, we didn't call it BayWorld Films, we didn't call it BayWorld Animation, we called it BayWorld Unlimited. And with that, and even though it's 5 little letters, UNLTD, and we don't really put it out there like we do the BayWorld part of it, like our attire.
I didn't get like that too, but my shirts haven't come in yet, so I'm getting some color emotions. Y'all. Hey, I'm a big fan of promote your thing, man. Promote it.
Appreciate that. But to answer your question, the one thing that me and Chris, we don't really get caught up in everything we do. We have a production budget for.
Yeah.
Okay. But we don't get caught up in the whole thing as far as like the budget governing, the project. We pretty much try to stay realistically focused on, can we make this project happen with this budget? And then what are we going to do to get this budget or to make it happen?
Yeah.
Each project that we have, and we have multiple, they all have their own approach. There's some projects that we budget for a certain amount of advertising versus another project that's not what we're going to do. We're just going to do it this way. There's some projects that we have on hold right now because until we can get the budget to make it happen, to do it the way we want to do it. It's on hold. But that doesn't stop the BayWorld train from moving, because there's a ton of other stuff that we could be working on with the budget we already have to go ahead and get those projects done. So we're never limited by the confines of a budget or anything like that. As far as like how the projects come together and how we make the story, and you've seen it already in the animation, the animation's going to be different for each project, but it still maintain its continuity as far as like BayWorld, because we look at BayWorld and everything we do in BayWorld as one universe. Believe it or not, BayWorld exists in the same universe or in the same place as it's the Van Ambergs, even though it's two completely different.
Yeah, you can definitely tell it's from the same space for sure.
Right. It's in the same space. And if you know anything about the Bay Area and Oakland and Piedmont specifically, Piedmont is literally like, you could tell when you're in Piedmont and you can tell when you're in Oakland. And you walk a block and okay, I'm in Piedmont. You walk a block the other way and it's like, oh, damn, I must be back in the town. For real, huh, Chris? So it's facts. But our whole thing with BayWorld is to tell the whole experience, and I don't want people to think we pigeonhole ourselves as far as like telling that urban experience or the ghetto experience or the hood experience, because the Bay Area is made up of more than just the ghetto and the hood. It's also places like Atherton and Palo Alto, the Silicon Valley. You got stories for that too. The southern part of the Bay Area, we got stories for that too. San Francisco and Oakland are cousin towns, but they're not that similar at all.
You're not limiting BayWorld to just, even though it's named BayWorld, you're curating other IP. So there are obviously going to be other creators that are coming from East Coast, Midwest type of thing. So I get which is the main reason why I wanted to have you on, because kind of similar, thinking of building my question is always, how do you build kind of this animation, well, not even animation, but a media company that is producing, whatever content it may be. Could be, film, live film. It could be animation. It could be comic book, and that's why I'm kind of thinking about what I want to change my business name to, because I felt like it pigeonholed me into just graphics when there's so many other things outside of graphics that I want to dabble in. So transitioning into this media company that can dabble in whatever area the project would call for. Whether it's comics, graphic novels, whatever it may be. So I get that. And we're gonna before I ask this next question, let's jump over and take a look at some of the artwork from your different IPs. Because, like I said, it is unique. It's not Boondocks, and it's not like The Simpsons or the American Dad, but it has that edgy kind of, well, way edgier than them, but it kind of goes along in that vein. I think Boondocks is a little more closely related to it than say, like I said, The Simpsons or whatever that may be. Let's jump over here and take a look. Like I said, interesting characters, BayWorld, and I found it very enjoyable. It was fun watching it, the series, and obviously, Bruce, just on the creation side, it takes a lot of work, and I think a lot of people don't get that when they even watch a film. Animated film, they say, well, why does it take so long, for a film to come out? It takes a lot of work. And is this solely you, or do you have a team of artists that are working with you? I mean, obviously, it's not like, Pixar or Disney where they got hundreds of people working on a thing. These are kind of short web series, but even, like I said, even something 5 minutes takes a long time, to put together, kind of thing. What's kind of your process for creating and bringing to life BayWorld? Because I get the back end process of what it takes to do animation, but a lot of people don't. They just see the end product. And even a minute's worth of animation takes a long time, a lot of work involved.
Yeah. So I remember when we didn't have the characters when me and Chris decided to do the show initially. When I presented him the mural commemorating Devon, we just had Devon. But as Chris was telling me stories about, he wanted to be about 4 boys, and this was the personality of the boys. It was my job to conceptualize that. So to break it down, as far as animation, there's 3 processes. You have your pre-production, you have your regular production time frame, and then you have your post-production. And in the pre-production phase is basically setting everything up. What are the characters going to look like? Even to the point where I get technical as far as like how I'm going to draw them. And am I going to follow a kind of like a theme throughout as far as like how I'm going to draw the characters? One thing I've seen creators get shut down on, I'm kind of segueing a little bit or veering a little bit, and this is to encourage artists, all artists like this. Unless you're trying to draw for Disney, unless you're trying to draw for Pixar or something like that, work on your style, work on your the way you tell the story through pictures. That's most important, because prime example, Trey Parker and Matt Stone just a few years ago secured a $900 million deal for South Park. And
Yeah,
when you look
South
at South
Park.
Park's animation, that part, right? And you look at South Park animation, it's like, this
Yeah,
shit ain't special. You know what I mean? It ain't,
yeah,
it's,
yeah.
well, it's
It's
not
not. Yeah,
technical, it's not flashy, it's not all this and all that. But you know
yeah,
what? Tells a damn good story. And
yeah,
that's why they got that.
yeah,
So, and there's consistency and continuity and everything else. So there's other elements that go into it besides the aesthetics.
yeah,
But when Chris presented me those characters and I drew those characters, we discussed it. And they didn't even look close to what, well, they looked similar to some the pictures that you see in here that you have up on the screen. But we have some early artwork of where Darren's kind of the guy on the in the red shirt, the tall guy.
yeah,
He looked a lot different.
yeah.
And then we ended up like streamlining him and stuff like that. But um, me and Chris, we just go every step of the way. We talk about the environments, we talk about the characters, and we try to match the characters with their personality as far as like, you know, how we draw them or what they're
Yeah.
going to look like.
Well, I mean, I know you're bringing in, voice people and things like that, but is it primarily you doing the drawing and the animating, or do you have a team of people, a team of people that's helping you with this? Because obviously, like I said, I've seen a lot of great work, whether it's film or animation that's done by one person, but it takes a while, because they're doing so many different things, and it's
Right.
vastly different than even the small studios may have 20 or 30, that I know may have 20 or 30, animators, maybe 20, or they may contract out, hire contract artists and things like that. Are you pretty much right now, it's just you doing the animating and the drawing, or do you have a team of people that's helping you with this?
So primarily, I am the artist and the animator.
Okay.
From time to time, we'll
What are
bring
you
in.
using for animation? Just off the top.
We use Toon Boom
Toon Boom.
Harmony.
Okay. Yeah, they were
Yeah,
sponsored for the show. Yeah, Toon Boom's a great tool.
yeah, Toon Boom Harmony. It's pretty much an industry standard. A
Yeah.
lot of animated shows that you might watch on Fox or whatever like that, they use the same program. So
Yeah.
from time to time, we'll bring in contract other artists to come in. One thing that's worked for us, even with BayWorld, is that we work with, especially like students who just graduated
Yeah.
school,
Yeah.
art school or whatever like that, want to
Yeah.
get their feet wet, want to have some credits on their resume.
Yeah.
They can always join in the fray. What we're doing right now, currently, BayWorld is actually shifting gears a little bit in that we have an internship program that we're starting in just a couple months in June, as well as contracting a stable of artists and those that do art and animation. So if you're listening, you're an artist or an animator, hit us up. We got some work for you.
Awesome.
And we'll be opening up our new offices here in the Southern California area in around that same time. So there's a lot that's happening right now as far as how we even produce our animation and cartoons now. That's on the verge of changing what we do. But everything that you're seeing and everything that you're pulling up, that is my artwork.
Okay. Rudy Willing.
Yep.
The
And Van Ambergs.
Yeah.
That's my artwork as well. So if you notice, all of them, and you look at the shows or you look at the artwork, it's all different. Booty Woman doesn't look like, I don't draw Booty Woman the same way I draw Van Ambergs. I don't draw Van Ambergs the same way I draw Von World characters. Yeah. It's
but they
totally
still
different.
neatly fit within this world of BayWorld. Like you said, you could look at it and kind of think, okay, this belongs to BayWorld, and it has that BayWorld feel. Even the Van Ambergs, even though it's totally different story, totally different characters that are totally different from Von, you can still see that it fits within. Okay, this is something BayWorld would do, type of thing. That's what I like. It has this consistency. All of them have this consistency that goes across and comes back to BayWorld. Speaking to your internship, and I don't know if they touched on this at Afro Animation, but if something I've heard, obviously this is a hard time for creators, especially in the animation space, the game space, just finding work. Um, is that something, obviously, with your internship that you're looking to really change, and kind of the industry is kind of going through its little downturn at this moment with just work going around and people being work. Would you encourage them to not necessarily make a company, but get their own content, work on their own content, and put it out in whatever it may be, until they may find their said job or find their next opportunity?
I think the most important thing is we've been saying it through the whole thing, is being true to yourself. If I'm gonna be honest with you, starting your own studio, and Don, you know this.
Yeah.
I know we're just doing this for entertainment purposes, but starting your own studio and doing everything on your own is going to take work and commitment. If you're not the type of person, if work and commitment are kind of like, voodoo words to you, don't even bother. Continue to hone your craft and just keep, applying and keep trying to get into a studio, whether it's a AP or a coffee fetcher,
Yeah.
or for whatever studio you want to get in. You just gotta be humble and keep yourself low on that totem pole and continue to work in behind the scenes. But if you are interested in, starting that journey and telling your own stories or what have you, do your research first. Research your content, research your audience, do your legal research. You don't want to get sued. Because that, even if you are successful, that money can get all sucked right out of you if you didn't do your due diligence legally. And, another thing too is just to have conversations with those that are successful too. You can only be successful if you have those conversations with successful people.
Yeah.
And that's going to help you along the way too, as far as avoiding some barricades and stuff like that you may otherwise encounter if you hadn't had those conversations. But I always encourage people as a whole to just be honest with yourself first and foremost. Because like you mentioned, animating my wife tells me all the time, you have so much patience. I couldn't do that. I couldn't just sit for hours on hours to draw something that we're only going to see for 5 seconds, 3 seconds, that's just amazing to me. So
that's where the passion and the love comes in. I mean,
yeah.
That's what carries you through all those, lonely times, all those hard times. And just like you said, not everybody is, cut out to own their own studio. Some people are, and a lot of people are perfectly fine with it. They want to get a job that picks
that's
up.
fine. No.
Do you feel like, and this goes to you too, Chris, that either one of you alone would be able to create something like BayWorld? Or do you feel like it takes having a partner to really kind of help you shoulder through all the things that you're doing?
No, I don't think. Well, I know for a fact I wouldn't be able to create BayWorld without Bruce for a couple of reasons. Because of how organically it came together. Like my first thought, I'm a filmmaker first.
Yeah.
I wasn't thinking about animation, but because he sparked my interest with that one picture of my son, it changed everything for me. Like it changed everything. And the knowledge that he has in animation, which I would never have, I definitely could not have started an animation company without Bruce. It's almost like the perfect, I don't want to say storm because storms are bad, but the perfect recipe was me being a story writer, filmmaker, hooking up with an animator. You know what I'm saying? That was the perfect storm to create an animation company that had well written stories and great animation. It almost probably never happens that way for most people. So going back to your last question, I don't really think I think most people, me and Bruce was having this discussion, a lot of speakers on the panel, they were happy just having a job. So my question to Bruce was, damn, don't nobody want to own nothing? Everybody just want to work for, like, my mentality is always to own.
Oh, yeah.
It's never to create for someone else.
Yeah.
So it boggled me when I left the summit, and I talked to Bruce one-on-one, and I said, Bruce, kudos to everybody that works for Disney and stuff like that, but I'm like, all these animators don't want to have their own stuff. They're kind of happy working with. And Bruce was like, yeah, a lot of animators just want to have a job.
Well, and that's what I mean, because they may, but being on and I can attest to this myself because I struggle with this. They're used to creating. They're not used to creating a business type of thing or running their own thing. And that's where I feel like more training, more exposure to that will give them and more opportunities to build collaborations to kind of compensate for whatever, I won't say it's a shortcoming, but whatever you're lacking as far as, okay, yeah, I have my own stories, but I don't know how to put a business together or run a studio or, put myself in a position to even meet somebody that's going to fill that space that, I'm not able to kind of get myself, type of thing. And I've said this on my show a few times as well. It's great. And I think a lot of kids out there, that's their first notion, and that may be the thing that's kind of drilled into them. Get a job, get benefits, get a job. And it was drilled into me, get a job, get benefits, and all that type of thing. And so they're not used to, even though they may have a kind of a bite in the back of their head of wanting to create their own thing and build their own thing, they're just, I gotta get a job, I gotta pay bills, I'm happy with this, or I don't know somebody that's more business knowledgeable. Because like I said, I can speak for myself. That's been the biggest learning curve for me in just building my business. How do you run a business? Like you said, the legalities of things that you wouldn't have to think about. Like I said, when I started really getting serious about my own business, and I worked at a full-time job, it was a totally different mind shift of, okay, I got to go out and get clients now. I don't have to sit and worry about my boss bringing in work to me and doing it. Now I got to do it. Okay, now I got to, the taxes, what entity, what do I got to pay? All of this kind of, I need to get an accountant, and I need to get a lawyer, or I need to talk to a lawyer, type of thing. Some just, hey, I just want a job. I get paid, do my work, go home. Some may, and I found that even those that are doing that, they're still working on their own stuff, their own projects and things like that. They just may not be interested in building their own thing and may not have had the opportunity to kind of taste or control their own kind of stuff. And I've met some on the other side that, they're, hey, I want my own thing. Even though I may have a full-time job or I'm working for a studio, I want to create my own stories. And it just takes them meeting that right person that they can work with and build something from. I had one guy, he was actually a filmmaker, Ruel Smith, on the show. He does a lot of sci-fi stuff. But he was more a filmmaker. He wasn't necessarily a writer. He was just more the kind of technical filmmaker. And he just happened to partner with somebody that he worked at with a studio that he wanted to be a screenwriter, and he did writing, and so they came together. So I find that those ones that, and it's the same thing with Everett Downey that I had on. That I don't know if you've seen My Dad the Bounty Hunter. That's another great thing on Netflix. he's an animator, you know, but his partner is, you know, they find these partners that kind of help to kind of balance them in the things that they're, you know, their strengths that they may not be good. So then they move forward and, okay, we can build this thing that we're trying to build here, type of thing. And that, it's curious that you said that, Chris, because I always had that idea and thought in my head, you know, when I see, you know, a lot of, you know, don't you want to own your own thing and, you know, and create your own ideas and stuff like that. But I don't put it all on, because like I said, for some it is a struggle to have to do that. And that's where building relationships and building these partnerships with people that, like you said, just are in a different area, but you work well together, you fit well together, and you both have this vision of creating and telling your own stories type of
But
thing.
here's the thing, though. A lot of people, when you say, "Hey, don't you want to start your own business doing this? You're good at it, blah blah blah." Yeah, I don't want the stress, and I get that. But what they don't understand is when your boss is breathing down your neck about a deadline, that's stressful too. You still got stress. Like
Yeah.
working for somebody is still stressful. There is
Oh,
no, there
man.
is no, there is no way to make income in any way without any stress. There's no way
Oh,
to do it.
man.
You're gonna have some stress.
Yeah.
Is there more stress owning your own business? Like we're like
It's
us
a different
BayWorld,
kind of
any
stress.
company? Yeah, it is a lot of stress. But guess what? The reward of the
Yeah.
stress is way better
Yeah.
on that side
Yeah.
than the reward for the stress as for working for somebody for 40 years, and at the end of your 40 years, they give you a not even a gold watch, a gold plated watch.
Yeah.
For 40 years of working for it.
And nowadays, it's very rare that you'll make it to 40 years, because
That's what I'm
the way
saying. So it's
jobs are
like-
going and the way people are getting fired or
That's
let
what
go,
I'm saying.
or
So you just spent 40 years getting stressed out by a boss that you hated, and he hated you. Just to find out at the end of that 40 years, they took your pension. You don't have no pension no more. You don't get the gold watch no more.
yeah,
Compared to that same 40 years, if you built a company, what the reward could have been. You could have built something, sold the company for $200 million right off into the sunset. Like,
Yeah.
it just takes the reward for the stress has to be worth it. And I think a lot of people, they only see it as, like you were saying earlier, they just want to do their job and go home, and the
get my check, get my
it's over.
benefits, you know,
But it's
and
like-
I'm good.
But you're still, it's still like I ain't gonna say begging. You're still somebody still
dependent on-
feeding you.
Yeah, you're still dependent on somebody
You're dependent on
else's,
somebody else,
you know,
yeah.
to have your livelihood. You
Yeah.
know,
And
it's like I said, it's
I
a
am-
different mindset moving from employee to entrepreneur. It's a totally different mindset, because now you're the one that's responsible for your success
Yes.
and where you go, as opposed to,
Yes.
okay, I'm depending on them to bring in work
Yeah.
so that I can get a check, so that I can pay my bills and do all of that stuff. Yeah, it's a different, and not, like you said, not everybody wants to go down that route, for sure.
But those same people that don't want to take the stress of building a company, I get mad at them. Some of my friends, some of them is even my family. They complain about not having enough money. But you want to go work for somebody else and make $15 an hour, and you want your life to end right there. So don't come back and complain to me about your financial problems. Fix your financial problems. That's what I'm saying. It's hard for me to get along with a lot of people, because I'm gonna keep it real with you. If you got money issues, fix your damn money issues. I don't want to hear no complaints.
Well, I mean, and not to, like I said, you know, single people out, but wouldn't you feel the same way about, like I said, and they're super talented people like Bruce Smith, that, or, you know, that are working for companies like Disney, but that can easily build their own company and employ, you know, whoever, or partner or work with whoever type of thing. Would that go
But
along with this?
as long as Bruce Smith is not complaining about financial issues.
Oh, yeah, he's not.
He can
yeah.
have the life he want to have, making
Yeah.
whatever he's making. But I'm finding that more people are complaining about not have what they don't have.
Yeah.
But you're willing to take a $15 an hour job and not willing to work instead of watching Netflix for 6 hours at home at night, instead of working on a business plan to get you out of the hole, they'll watch Netflix all night and then complain the next day about not having no money. I find that I can't have the same conversation with people like that because I don't live my life like that. Like I just don't live my life like that. The way I think, look, this I'm gonna keep it real.
Hard. No, and that's why I love having you guys on, because like I said, I want people to get the real, and again, that was a big factor on why I wanted to have you on, because you were building a company kind of like I wanted to build. I'm looking to take mine.
Okay.
And trying to learn okay, well, what do you how do you do this? How did you figure out this move? Which is why I want to have more in-depth conversations with you, just strictly more on the business side of it, off camera. But that's why I was so glad about building a relationship with you guys, because I knew you were building the kind of type of company that I see I want with I say DG Graphics now, but I am looking to change the name because I feel like DG Graphics, like I said, limits me to people thinking just graphics when there's so many other things. So that's another conversation in and of itself. But I get you, because I get frustrated just in, I find when I have conversations, and I love them, with my family, they don't understand the moves that I make, because I'm thinking totally different. Even though I may have to take, and I have taken it, and I have one now, a full-time job. I'm given a certain amount of hours, but I'm always working on my thing so that I can step away from that or do my own thing. And I find that it's very difficult to have conversations with people that aren't in that mindset.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Do you know, Don, do you know that 3+ years ago, I sat in the living room of a family member's house who I will not name, with a bunch of other family members, and I told them, TikTok is next. Get on TikTok. You guys, a couple of them have businesses. I said, get on TikTok now. They told me TikTok for kids. That's what they told me. 3.5 years later, BayWorld got 60,000 TikTok followers, and I have another TikTok channel that got almost 200,000.
Yeah.
That's generating revenue.
But have you heard they're thinking about banning TikTok? So.
They're thinking about banning it, and it might happen, it might not.
But like you said, you built an audience enough to where they'll follow you to whatever channel you go to. Yeah, they'll follow you to whatever channel.
Yeah, but that's the thing too. People get too stuck on one platform. Yeah. They should be worried about brand awareness. Just your brand awareness. It doesn't matter where you go.
Where you are, Just
build a brand. They sell Coca-Cola in Germany as well as Venezuela, as well as the U.S. because they have brand awareness. It does not matter where they're at. Yeah. So even though the name says BayWorld, we want BayWorld to cross the globe.
Yeah.
So it won't even matter who we work with, the story we telling, blah, blah, blah. But it's difficult for me to have conversations, even sometimes with my own family, about building out businesses. Yeah. When the mindset that they have is, well, I'm just cool with having my job.
Yeah.
And it's like,
yeah. And I get it. Like I said, I understand because of just how, specifically my family, how we were raised, how my parents were raised. I get that. But like I said, I do find, like I said, when you're trying to carve out your own path that's just different from what other people are doing, it's very hard to have conversations, which I guess is why, successful people or entrepreneurs hang out with other entrepreneurs and successful people, because they understand what they're trying to do and what they're trying to build. Right. That type of thing.
I talk to like 2 people every day. I talk to Bruce and one other person. The reason why, they the only 2 that think like me that I can talk to every day. Everybody else is on some BS. They going on vacation. They can't even afford the vacation. They put it on the credit card. They can't really afford it. They're going on vacations. They're doing all this other stuff instead of building a. I got a friend who spent $12,000 on a vacation, right? $12,000 on vacation, but he's filing for bankruptcy when they come back from vacation. Tell me where that makes sense, man. Where does that make sense?
We're gonna have some fun before I do have to. That's what I was talking. Everybody just joined in.
Oh,
We're having a kind of very interesting conversation with Bruce Bowers and Chris Ellis.
I'm at family gatherings and they looking at me like this dude is mean. I'm not mean. It's just y'all are idiots and you're not listening.
Oh man. Well, like I said, it takes a different kind of person to believe in their own value and what they're trying and what they want to do and sticking to that, what they want to do, regardless of what everybody on the outside is saying. The naysayers, the ones that want to keep you where they're at, and realizing that you try not to get, especially with family, because you love them, but you try not to get upset, but you definitely understand that all I can do is, hey, I can try to tell you what I'm doing, but in the end, I got to go my own route, and it's like, you deal with them to a certain degree because you don't want to listen to the complaining all the time. Well, what are you doing about your situation? What are you doing to change it? I'm sick of this job. Okay, well, what are you doing to change it?
What are you going to do?
What are you doing to change it? What are you doing to make your life better or to follow your dream? And I wouldn't want to be, which is, like I said, why I think we're like-minded in a lot of ways. I wouldn't want to be on my deathbed and say, well, I didn't try. I didn't try and do what it was I wanted to do, even though I may have fell short or succeeded. I wouldn't want to say that I didn't give my all to it. When I'm giving my all to somebody else that's making way more money than me and giving me just a few dollars off of it, to live a life. And so I think, like I said, you got to believe and take that chance on yourself, which most people aren't, because like I said, we're battered into thinking, hey, you need to get a job, and most schools and most education is only about churning out the worker and churning out that worker bee, as opposed to thinking that they can be the entrepreneur, the business owner. And unless you have that in your family or have seen it in your family, it's not going to be something that you think is necessarily accessible to you, which it's a great thing. I was just
talking to Bruce about that. I was talking to him about that because, like, my mother had a daycare for 30 years, and then my father was a longshoreman, so he didn't necessarily punch a clock. Longshoremen go to work pretty much when they want to go to work. So I didn't see parents punch a clock. So I grew up with them. When I had to go get a job, I hated it because I didn't see my parents have to do that every single day. So once I got into building a business and building my film production company as well as an animation company, I would never ever go back to working for somebody unless it was like my life depended on it. Like, it would have to be a drastic situation, because in the end, the whole point of getting money, everybody want to be wealthy and rich, is to free up time. That's what all this getting money is about. Not to buy a Bentley and buy belts, $2,000 belts and stuff like that. It's to free up time to do what you actually want to do. That's what it's all about. So I would never go back to something that's going to tie up all my time for pennies on the dollar. I would never go back to no shit like that. It's crazy to me that people will fall in line to that and not even try to get them. I can understand. Look, I've been a worker, 9-to-5 worker just like everybody else. But the fact that people will fall in line to that and just say, well, I'm just going to work here for 30 years.
That's my life. Yeah, that's my lot in life, and not try and do anything,
They don't see the other side of business ownership. And me and Bruce talk about it all the time. I'm like, we love BayWorld to death. But if in 10 years from now, Pixar said, we want to give you guys $300 million for BayWorld going to get sold. Best believe that. Goodbye. We've had this conversation. It's not even a debate.
We ready for any scenario. So you got some folks that's like knocking on your door saying, yo, I saw them dudes the BayWorld on your show. I heard they selling. Shoot them our number. We'll talk.
Man, Bruce get 150, I get 150. We can live our rest of our lives helping our communities, philanthropy and stuff like that. We can do some other stuff to get enjoyment.
But see, you've
out of
already
life.
got the entrepreneurial mind of we'll just move on to the next thing that we want to do.
We want to do the next adventure.
As opposed
we're still brothers. We still gonna be working together, but we're just gonna move on to the next adventure. Yeah. That's it. That's all.
Next adventure. Next adventure. And see, like I said, I found, I'm kind of opposite of you in the fact that, my mom she was a office worker, went to, job, and it was a part-time job. I don't know how she did it, but just a part-time job. But the people around me pretty much they had jobs. I may have known one, I think my cousin, he had a barber shop. He owned a barber shop. So it wasn't like the entrepreneurial business owner type of thing was something I saw on a daily basis. But for some reason, I just always had the drive or the passion in me. I want my own thing. I want to create my own thing. I just wanted to go my own way and being, like you said, have the money to do the things that I wanted to do when I wanted to do them. And in order to do that, you got to create your own. Otherwise, you're, at a 9 to 5, well, can I have this time off to go on vacation? Or, can I do, that type of thing? I get it. We do what we got to do in order to pay bills, which is, like I said, why I'm working a full-time job. I got to pay bills and get money coming in. But you're always working, I'm always working on getting my thing going to the point where I can say, okay, bye. I'm ready to move on and do my own thing. So that's why I love talking with other entrepreneurs. And I realize that it's an easy thing to slide into working in a 9 to 5 job if you don't surround yourself with other entrepreneurs that are giving you, encouraging you, and giving you information. Birds of a feather kind of flock together. So if you're the creative type, you want to surround yourself with other creatives. I have to surround myself around other creatives because it fuels me. If I'm an entrepreneurial type and want to build my own, I know I got to surround myself and associate with other people that are doing that very thing. Otherwise, I'll just, okay, I'm cool with, just getting a check and, hoping I make it to retirement and hoping I have enough to live off of when I, get to a certain age. So for me,
and it's really sad, Don, that now that you mention it, because I think about when people post on Facebook or IG or whatever like that. You personally go on Facebook and post, I got a job, or I'm now starting at this company at this position, and watch how your thread blows up versus I've started my own business. What do you think? Which thread do you think is gonna blow up? The one that you started your own business, or I'm the executive producer, or I'm the, I work for this company, or I'm shift manager at this company, or whatever like that. You're gonna get a whole lot more congratulations on that.
No.
Than you will saying I started my own business.
No.
And you see it all the time, and it's because it's a conditioning in our society. I listen to a lot of audiobooks and a lot of different people like Robert Greene and Robert Kiyosaki and different people like that you know what I'm talking about, I'm sure. But the one thing I remember Robert Kiyosaki saying, he was asking his teacher in school, he was like, hey, what can you teach me about finance? Just the simple stuff.
Yeah.
As a high school student, me personally, I don't know about your curriculum, Don, but me personally, I was never taught how to balance a checkbook, to fill out a 1040, what a W-2 is. I mean, just those things. The power of credit.
Yeah.
And and how to use credit and how to use debt to your advantage.
That stuff's not taught to us, which is why.
Well, why not? Because those are the most important things that you're going to face before you can even get a place. You got to know how to apply.
Yeah.
They're going to check your credit score. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? When you fill out a job, you got to know how you want your taxes apportioned or distributed, right?
Yeah,
I would think that.
yeah.
Yeah.
You would think, you couple it, like I said, and that's a really deep conversation in just the
Yeah, I don't
psychology
want
of
to go
why
into it,
we.
but you know what
Well,
I'm
I
saying.
mean, but it really does play into, like I said, just my thing, even throughout this show is, I want people, I want creators specifically because I'm a creator. Like I said, to kind of think now. Like I said, you don't have if that's not your thing, you don't want to. As far as building your own thing or owning your own thing, and you want to, you're fine and happy with working that. I just want to put it out there because that wasn't something that was put out to me. That there is this option and space of you can create your own thing. You can be wildly successful, with the energy that you put into it, that we weren't given. That wasn't something, like I said, the neighborhood I grew up in, it wasn't exceedingly rough as far as and stuff like that, but it wasn't, everybody was just working class. Everybody was just, and that's kind of the narrative. It's kind of the narrative of America as a whole. I mean, they try to churn out more workers than they do maybe entrepreneurs, and that's something that's just innate in you that you want to do. Just like an inventor, it's just something that they got to do. Regardless of whether people say, "Oh, this will never work. Why are you doing this?" The naysayers, it's just a drive. But the majority of people, we tend to fall in line with the herd of what it is. Get a job because it for the economy that works for the economy. They want workers. Of course, they have to have businesses that employ those workers, but for the most, they need more workers than they do, like I said, people that are going to own the businesses and be those successful businesses. So it's for the advantage of the schools to teach you these trades, physical trades, or just stuff, as opposed to, okay, we got a curriculum that's designed. Now it's a little different. Obviously, you got business schools and things like that. But when I was growing up, it was just you learn the basics to get a job. You learn the basics to just get a job, get your benefits, and then when you got parents that they've come from this time period where that was what was drilled in their heads, or they didn't, like I said, came up during slavery days, or kind of that Jim Crow era of where, hey, we're just trying to survive and get a job. So and that's not something that they were taught. They're not going to pass that on to you because they don't know it. It's just like I said, when I have conversations with, my family, none of them, for the most part, and I'm talking my immediate brothers and sisters, for the most part, they had jobs. They never, worked to build their own business or anything like that. So it takes like I said, a certain mentality. Oh, I need to be reading this book, or you're reading it, and they're saying, "Well, what are you reading this book for?" Or you're telling them something business related, and they don't different, understand or kind of grasp it. Like, oh, okay, you should, why don't you you're working on your business, but your business maybe at this point where it's not making money. Well, you need to get a job. You need to get a 9 to 5 job. Where the creative person is, no, I believe in myself that I can make this work and build something. So some
Yeah.
people, like I said, while not malintentioned, that's just the way they were raised, and that's just their thought process of how they survive and make a living. They're going to go down that route. So that's why it's crucial to be, like you said, Chris, that's why it's crucial to talk with somebody and surround yourself around somebody that at least knows and understands what you're trying to do, because they get the moves that you're making. Oh, I turned down this job because I, got this opportunity type of thing. Or you kind of get what I mean? It's
Yeah.
while you
It
can't
and it
disassociate
alienates
it.
you. It alienates you from some of your friends, some of your family, in a way that, like, I got one family member that will talk to me about business because he really wants to know what I know about certain things, social
Yeah.
media stuff like that. But the rest of them, they only talk to me about anything other than business, because they know when I go in on business, I'm gonna go in,
Yeah.
and I don't really want to hear no excuses or none of that other stuff. So it does alienate you to where you just start talking business with people that are business people.
Yeah.
I don't really talk to other people about business unless they're business owners, because only business owners are going to understand
Yeah.
what you're going through.
Yeah. What you're going through.
The average 9-to-5 worker, they're not going to understand because they just paying taxes and getting through
Yeah.
with life. But when you talk about owning IPs, and you talk about investments, and you talk about the difference between an investment and an asset, and you can only talk about stuff like that to people who are doing what you're doing.
Yeah, or have what they have that, and so they understand.
Or they have that. Yeah,
they
you know.
have
So
that. So,
I've had to kind of separate myself from a lot of my friends in that way, talking to them about business, because they only see life one way. Get a good job and work there for 40 years and retire. I have a family member right now. He works for AC Transit, and he's a little bit younger than me. He got like 17 years ago to retire. The only thing he talks about is his retirement. And I can't wait till my 17 is up. I'm like, dude, you know what you could create for yourself in 17 years? In 17 years, you could create an incredible company if you even cared about doing something like that. But he wants to ride the gravy train and say, okay, I'm making $25 an hour. I can ride that out to retirement, get my pension, blah, 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 blah. But he's not understanding that as time goes, in 17 years, the amount of money you need in the bank to bankroll the rest of your life, if you live to 90, you ain't gonna have that.
And that's which, like I said, you were spot on in saying that. Like I said, it's, people are waiting till retirement, and like, you feel like retirement is going to cover your life. Once you stop working, if you ain't got money, if you weren't savvy enough. Now, I'm not going to say there aren't people that have worked, a job 25 years, but they were understood money in compound interest. So they understood and invested, and so are able to, at 45 years, I worked at this company for 20, 25 years, and at the age of 45, I was smart with my money. So I got $10-20 million to live off of, and I can live off the interest, of what it is.
Right.
So that's what I mean. You got a lot of people now, they're finding, especially older people, that feel like they work at this job or whatever it is, trying to make it to retirement to get their benefits and get to that point and end up having to work a part-time job because they figure Social Security and all the other stuff is going to be able to support their life and support them. And I'm like, I'd rather bet on myself, because that stuff's not really going to work. I'd rather build and try and create and try and be financially independent off of my own, because I'm not capped at that. At a job, I'm capped at how high I can go or how much I can earn. Even if
me and Bruce had that talk all the time. And I seen a quote that Rick Ross said when he was getting interviewed by Earn Your Leisure guys. He said, if you got 10 million, you should be scared, because the way inflation is going and the way housing is going, and corporations are now buying homes and raising the mortgage on them from a modest $3,000 a month to $5,000. If you shooting for your retirement, lasting you till you turn 90 years old, taking care of you, you are done. You're going to end up homeless. You're going to end up homeless. You need to be shooting for 10 million and up. So when you retire, you can live the life you want to live, not work at Walmart. And you got a lot of old people work at Walmart say, I'm only here to meet the people. No, the hell you ain't. You there because you got to be there. Don't lie to me. I ain't stupid. You'll be lying, talking about I'm trying to meet people. No, the hell you ain't.
That's a
You
sad
need
thing.
to work at Walmart.
And that's the bad thing. You got, like I said, a lot of elderly people that, or just being in a position to, you make it to retirement, but you haven't invested or saved money to where you
don't have
still
the
have to
nest
get a
egg.
job after retirement.
Yeah,
And
you
I
don't have the
don't, like I
nest
said,
egg.
that's just not a place I would want to be. So,
And that's in a scenario where your kids are financially stable. We grow up in the age now to where your 30 and 40-year-old kids want to come back and live with you. You really asked out if your 40-year-old kids want to come back home with you. Now you
oh
have to
man,
feed them. Now you gotta feed them, put them on your insurance. It's like you have a whole nother child again.
oh man, man
I'm just keeping it real, man. Like I told my kids already, when y'all move, ain't no coming back. Ain't no coming back, man. You gotta
oh
figure this
man.
out.
So I'm a
When I
guest just
left,
jumping in. Like I said, we are having a real authentic conversation about
when I
life.
left home, the one thing my dad said was, I ain't got to worry about you, because he said, I know you don't want to live here with me no more.
Oh
Hell no,
man,
I don't.
I didn't
I
know
will
that
sleep.
really.
I will sleep in my car before I move back home with my parents. He knew that about me. He knew that about me, but the new
Oh
generation of
man,
kids, mine
yeah, the new
included, we spoil
generations.
them so much.
Yeah, the
We
new
spoil our kids so
generations.
much that they depend. Like my kids, like I got 4 kids, and 3 are grown. One is a 16-year-old. All of them still ask me for money. I still have to give them money. I haven't asked my parents for money since I was 14. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a difference. There's a difference in culture to
Oh,
where the kids nowadays is like, well, you got it, so give it to me. No.
they expect it to be automatically theirs. If it, you know,
Yeah.
they're
I
like,
like what
no.
Shaq said. Shaq said, I'm rich. You ain't rich. He said, my kids are not rich. I'm rich. You
Oh
ain't
man.
rich. I love
Oh
that quote
man.
because it's a fact. It's like, I work for this. When I die, then you'll become rich. But as long as I'm breathing, I'm rich. You got to go to work. You
Oh
got to learn.
man.
You got to earn a living.
Oh
Because
man.
number one thing it'll do, it'll help you build character.
Yeah.
That's the one thing that
Yeah.
matters with. I don't mind my kid, even if I had $100 million, I wouldn't mind my kids working for a living for a little while because it builds character. They have to learn the value of a dollar. If I won the lotto for 100 million tonight and gave each one of them 25 million, they will blow the 25 million within 1 year
Yeah.
on BS.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
On BS, they'll go buy a bunch of Louis bags and belts and rims and all this other stuff that don't even mean nothing to nobody.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they'll fly to Dubai for no reason, just flying to Dubai for no reason.
I just
They're
want
not
to
even
go.
doing business in Dubai. They just
they,
fly to
they, they
Dubai.
gotta they gotta do it for the gram.
They got to do it for the gram. So that money will be gone. And then where they at? They're going to be right back at
Oh
me asking
man.
me for more money.
Oh
So
man. But
we
yeah,
got to be
that's
better. We got, even myself included, we got to be better as parents in raising our
Yeah,
grown kids and grandkids to
yeah.
be able to
grandkids.
take care of themselves, to be
Yeah.
more self-sufficient, to where they don't have to come back to us and say, hey, Dad, I need gas money.
Yeah.
Well, how much you need? $40. Hold on. You in your 30s and you need $40 from me? What? Like,
Yeah.
what part of
Yeah.
the game is that?
Yeah. That's why, like I said, that's why I'm so thankful of the time that I was raised in, because like I said, my mother
Oh, I
raised
love
me
it.
to be pretty much self-sufficient.
Yes. I wouldn't take that
And
time back for nothing. It taught
yeah,
me so much
talking a
about
lot.
taking care of myself.
And not just her, but like I said, I grew up when, parents or your neighbors were watching you just as much as your parents were.
Right, right.
And if you did something wrong, they would sure tell you, tell your parents type of thing. So, like I said, while I love this time that we live in, I love technology, and that's what I'm different. I feel like I'm a little different from like my brothers and sisters. I'm the youngest. I'm the youngest of 10, and so
Damn.
watching, like I said, and I'm pretty much I think the only one that's kind of entrepreneurial or just, is going a different route. Like I said, I love technology. I said to have our conversation. I'm not throwing shade out to you, my sister, because I love you. But she's like, I need to learn how to work a computer. Okay, you need to learn how to work a computer, especially at this time. Sit down and or even at the very least, take a class. You know,
Right.
read this book. Hey, I'm reading this self-help book. I'm listening to this podcast. You can take a horse to, to the pond, but you can't make them drink. So,
Right.
like I said, that's why I say sometimes there are just conversations that you just can't get because they're just so ingrained. And I know how easy it is because, like I said, we're cut from the same tree. So I get it. That means you have to work that much harder to pull
Yeah.
yourself out of this cycle that you see everybody in, and you've seen your friends, type of thing grow up in. If you're one, and you probably experienced as well, you know, crabs tend to pull you back into the barrel when they see you're being successful and you're, doing something that they would like to do, but they just don't put forth the energy to do it. It's easy. That's why it's crucial to surround yourself. And I tell people, whether creative, entrepreneurial, surround yourself around other people that are more successful for you than you, or are have that mindset that they're trying to get to a certain level of success in whatever it is that they're doing.
Yeah.
Because it's easy for people to, especially people, like I said, some do it intentionally. They're intentionally trying to drag you down. They're intentionally trying to dissuade you from the things that you're doing. Others do it unintentionally because that's just how they were raised, and it's just hard for them to kind of get out of that train of thought. It takes
Yeah.
a lot of effort for somebody to listen to a self development podcast because they're trying to learn some new ideas and new ways of thinking. Takes a lot of thought and a lot of effort to sit down and read a book by Robert Kiyosaki and pick up different ideas when other people haven't even heard of Robert Kiyosaki and wouldn't know who he is if you told it to them.
You right.
So that's what I mean. I try and give people, while it's hard, I try to give people grace in the fact that you're like a lot of people. You just don't know. What you don't know is you're not going to be. You don't know what you don't know. Now, once you know it, and you still don't act on it, then that's a different thing. You
Yeah.
know.
That's on you.
But I get a lot of people just don't know. And in this time that we live now, where information is just, all over the place, you learn whatever I tell people, you can learn whatever you want to learn on YouTube and Google. You can find
Yeah.
one or the
Yeah.
other. Like I said, and I tell my sister, well, I'm too old. Okay, you done already asked yourself out right there because you done put it in your mind that you're too old to learn something, or I'm too set in my way. How you're talking, the self-talk of how we're talking to ourselves determines a lot on where we're going to go and
Yeah.
what we're going to do. So that's
Yeah.
why I take great pains to just, again, surround myself around entrepreneurs like you, creatives, other creatives, because it's easy to listen to that self-talk in your head when you got a lot of other people telling you, that kind of negative talk. It'll just pull you back down. And so, the whole saying, billionaires don't hang out with millionaires because it's a different mindset. And you hang out around the people that understand the mindset that you're trying to get, the level that you're trying to get to, whatever level that is.
Yeah.
And that's why I find this conversation so fascinating. Again, everybody's just jumping in. We've been talking about a lot of different things here on our 150th episode. Where are you, you know, where are you looking to take? Yeah, a lot of mind blowing stuff. and they were just talking about how long does these show? We are on we 2.5 hours, so.
So all right, as long as you're educated and entertained, we here.
And for real, like I said, that's why I don't mind doing these things because one, I learn a lot, and two, I want other people to learn something too, whether it's a different idea that they may not have heard about, or a thought that they may not have heard about or thought about even. Um, But moving forward, moving forward, what, where do you, where do you want to BayWorld to what spot, place in this industry are you moving BayWorld or wanting BayWorld to be? Where in the future, looking down in the future, you got a lot of different projects that you're working on, a lot of different things that you're doing. You as the founders, where's your vision of where BayWorld is going and what BayWorld can do?
Um, I remember when me and Chris we had a conversation. There was a young lady out of the UK that we were considering doing business with or whatever as a financial consultant. And one of the things that and this was years ago, but she put BayWorld kind of like defined BayWorld, and we were like, that's it right there. Um, and she says that from all the information that I gathered from you guys are a community driven type of company. So even though foundationally we're an animation company, ultimately we're a community company. A lot of the things we just talked about is information that you're not just going to get from any, like even any educational facility or anything like that, but that's going to be from people A that care and B people that know what they're talking about. The with BayWorld and what we wish to accomplish, or what we are going to accomplish, I don't say wish because we already put it out there. It's just the physical manifestation
Yeah,
that has to catch up to our words.
yeah,
Is that BayWorld will continue to be a community-based company, and where we're helping the community to, through animation, become either entrepreneurs or better at their craft or whatever it is that they choose. A couple of things that we have in the works that we're working with right now in conjunction with the BayWorld Foundation is the BayWorld Academy. And the BayWorld Academy is a part of our company, and where we bring in the youth from the community that want to get involved in animation, not just from a technical aspect. You don't even have to be an artist to take part of the BayWorld Academy, because it's also to teach you the business so that
mm,
you can make sound decisions as far as like, okay, I want to work for a bigger studio, or I want to stay here at BayWorld, or I want to start my own thing. Our whole mission really for BayWorld is to create a platform or create a place where people can come and they're appreciated and celebrated, as well as they're on a path of learning. And the limit it really is on them as far as like how much they can learn. Because even in art school, and I learned this with dealing with organizations like the Academy of Arts and stuff like that out of the Bay Area and working with the students there through the organization and the facilities of the organization, where that they had all these skills, but they had no inroads. And the thing is because I mean, even more especially now because of how the job market is, or what have you.
yeah,
So BayWorld could be that place where, hey, you can come and take shelter, learn a few things. It's up to you how much you want to learn, and at the same time get some credits under your belt. So now not only do you have the education, but you also have some production credits under on your resume that you could take to a bigger studio, what have you. It's not really a lot of places, a lot of options for that. It's
yeah,
almost like if you don't know somebody to get in, or you're ultra talented, you're pretty much asked out. So until you figure it out. So that's where I see BayWorld is continuing to contribute in that way, as well as continuing to develop our own intellectual properties
yeah,
through animation and other means.
yeah, yeah. Chris, do you
Yeah.
echo the same thing, or do you have a little bit more
No,
you want to add to it?
no, that's exactly how I feel. Same exact way.
Well,
Yep.
me as a student sitting at the master's feet here, I want to ask you, when you both started BayWorld, what was the first biggest hurdle or thing you needed to learn that you didn't know putting this media company together, this animation studio together? Because like I said, that's kind of my train of thought, but I'm thinking, okay, well, what are the steps that you kind of went through, and what was kind of the hardest challenge or the biggest challenge in putting this together?
I would say just the business aspect of it. Like Bruce is an animator, I'm a filmmaker, script writer. Those are things that we naturally love to do and can do easily.
Yeah.
But this business part, that's a whole different monster.
Yeah.
And that's, to me, that was the hardest thing to wrap my mind around. We started building a company was like when we started building out on the business side, that requires a whole nother mindset other than even the damn animation and the script
Yeah.
writing.
Yeah.
Like you got to be a whole different animal just to run a company.
Like I said, that's what I'm struggling with now. Well, I won't say struggling, but that's my learning curve now because, like I said, I'm a creative. I've spent my life as a creative doing work for other people, but building a business, running a business, a successful business is like you just said, a whole different mindset and a whole different beast.
It is.
What was kind of the first thing that you was saying? May have said to Bruce, or Bruce, you may have said to Chris, damn, okay, we need to take care of this. Or I don't know the next step of this. On the business side, like I said, obviously your craft you knew.
I would say, and this is for anybody that wants to start a business, is to learn the business that you want to start and to be adept in the business that you're entering. You got to know the foundations. You got to know the basics. We deal on the business end. We deal with the federal, we deal with the state, and we deal with the county. And even with the state, because we also have a store, we deal with the franchise tax board of the state as well as the state itself for regular taxes. It's like two totally separate things. So yes, you're going to pay taxes in the state as well as you're going to pay taxes to the franchise tax board if you're selling product. Because you need to have a seller's permit to even sell product, whether you're doing wholesale or you're doing retail sales or what have you. But all of that needs to be in place. And you got to know the rules of the game. You got to know when you can report them. You got to know what you can report and so on. That foundationally is the first thing you got to make sure you're good. You're good on. Another thing too is to make sure that you're financially set, or you have a balance, not a balance, or you have a budget for the project or for whatever it is that you're doing. Now, our budget is split into different ways. We have our production budget. We have our budget which the production budget is including who we pay and how we pay them and so forth. And then we also have our budget for marketing. So you have to have a marketing budget. You don't have a marketing budget, to be honest with you, no matter how dope you are and nobody knows about it, doesn't even matter. So you probably look at something on TV or whatever like that and say, man, how did they get a deal? Or you can thank their PR. That's who you can thank. That's how they got the deal. So even though it might not be great or good, or you could do better or what have you, it's just the knowing the steps that you have to take. Can you obtain those steps? What are some ways that we can, like, let's say I can't afford a business, a business representative or a business attorney and a financial or CPA and a personal manager, because you also have your personal manager who manages all of your schedule and as well as the production timelines and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I personally look at the business. I had to develop this myself. The business is an art to me. I remember watching a Ice Cube interview. I can't remember if it was Kevin Hart. I can't remember who it was with, but he literally says the part he loves about, because he's a creator, he's a content creator, loves it. Yeah. He says the business part is a killer. It's a soul killer. He hates it, but you have to be able to develop an kinship to it, or look at it as a way. How I look at it, I look at business as an art. The art of negotiation, the art of numbers. I'm a numbers guy naturally anyway. The art of all of that. And once you figure it out, write everything down, put everything on paper, give yourself we call it creating a business summary or a business summary proposal for a month, a year, 3 years, 5 years, work it all out, refer back to it from time to time. Any successful entrepreneur will tell you it's like writing your itinerary for the day, what you're going to get done today. You got to do the same thing for the business. You got to have a roadmap. There are some things that you don't have to hold yourself to as far as like foundationally concrete. You could shift a little bit or what have you. Um, However, there are certain things that are surrounded by those certain laws or protocols governed by the state, the federal, the county that you have to adhere to. So as long as you make sure you're straight on that, um, as far as the business goes, then you're going to be okay. Because you can have this monster marketing plan, this promotional plan, this PR plan, your production budget, and all of that intact. If you ain't paying the right amount of taxes, you don't have the certain amount, you don't have the right paperwork saying that you are legally able to do the business in this jurisdiction,
Yeah.
they'll take it.
Yeah.
So, or
And
you
you
won't be able
along
to do
with it.
business. Yeah, you already know. So you won't be able to
Yeah.
do business. So I would say to anybody that's trying to start a business, animation and content creation ain't no different. It's no different. Research the platform you're going to be on, what their community, what their guidelines are, and what they require. Figure it into the budget or whatever like that. If they require a fee, or if you're going to be using advertising, what is the fee? What is the percentage? All of those things are super important as far as like you being able to monetize and scale your business uh, properly without any interruption from somebody saying, "Hey, you can't do that," or "Hey, we're going to take this from you because you didn't do the due diligence and you didn't set it up properly."
Yeah.
So those are some things that we've learned in. We started the company. We started BayWorld, working on BayWorld in 2015. We had released the cartoon in 2016 and had product available too. But we didn't incorporate BayWorld until 2021. And that's when we got real serious about the business and about what we needed to do. And we went to the state, we went to the city, we went to the county, we handled our federal, make sure we were straight there. We got attorneys, which we have an attorney on call for any legal issue or any legal matter. Make sure you have that. Have an attorney or ESQ on call so that you can have anything you move or any type of thing that you do, they know about it.
Yeah.
And in that way, that'll save you from surprise. If somebody serve you a letter, oh, you could talk to my, send that right to so and so.
Yeah.
He'll handle it for me.
Yeah.
So as long as you have those things intact, you should be able to navigate the business and do the business. Treat the business like the art. It's not about the content. It's not about your what it is that you're producing or where you're putting it or any of that stuff if the business ain't right and tight.
Yeah.
I've worked with a lot of different other people that say, "Oh yeah, I have my company. I have my company. I have my LLC. I have this. I have that." Or you might be doing business with them, and then you ask for an invoice, and they like, "Huh?" And it's like, "Well, I need the invoice. I need the invoice for my records for when I file."
Yeah.
And they're
Because
like,
that's
"Yeah,
when.
hey man, how about them Lakers? So."
I
So
feel you. Trust me. I
yeah,
feel
man.
you.
It's like, yo. Or they'll be like, you go into an agreement with somebody and say, "Hey, I'll do this for you, you do this for me," or whatever like that. Cool, let's go. Let's
Yeah.
do it. Whoa, whoa,
Yeah.
whoa, hold up. Listen, where's the NDAs? Where's the
Yeah.
contracts? Where's the,
Yeah.
the
Agreements.
sidebars
Yeah.
and stuff like that? Oh no, we don't need that, homie. You my dog. Let's just do it, man. Let's get this money. You like,
You my dog.
yeah, we are dogs, but wait,
Oh
business.
man.
Business and you being my dog is two different things. I'm not
Yeah.
doing business with my dog. I'm doing business with another businessman.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
therefore, there's certain things that need to be followed so that it's to protect my interests. Believe it or not, I'm trying to protect yours too.
Yeah. I'm trying to
So
protect your interests as well too. So
right. So
You still got
yeah, get that business
business
type.
owners. You still got business owners that they have a business, they got a DBA. Some of them might even have an LLC, but they're still doing all their business transactions financially through their personal account. They haven't even separated the business account from a personal account. It's
no,
like
trust me.
that's rule number one.
Yeah, yeah. And to be fair, I was like that when I started too. That's why I said, most people like I said, they want to start a business. They don't learn anything about building, so they just jump into it because they got I can do this. They just jump into it, and I was like that too. But you quickly learn, like I said, through hard knocks or somebody telling you that, yeah, you gotta separate. If you really, even like I said, even if it's a sole proprietor and you're that type of thing, you need to get into the mentality of separating the two so that when you move higher up into whatever entity, you've already got that ingrained in you. My personal stuff, my personal finances is separated from that. So it was a hard lesson for me, and it's something that still, can be challenging because it just is for me sometimes. But you learn that, like I said, you have to do that, and your mindset has to change drastically. Like I said, when you're doing business, because you can find yourself in some deep issues with the IRS and some deep issues with, like I said, I have a friend now. He had his business is an LLC, and he's not really making any money, but he's gotten into issues with, he didn't realize he had to pay quarterly taxes, and so, like I said, you get people that just, they get into it, but they just it takes them hard knocks learning that you have to learn how to make this work right, otherwise you'll find yourself in a deep pit that's going to be very hard to get out of. And I can attest to that too. Just sometimes you find yourself in a place where it's very hard to get out of if you don't learn or get the knowledge. And if you're not, if that's not something that you grew up with or have learned, whether it's from your parents having their own business and teaching you that, then you need to seek out somebody, get advice from somebody that can give you good advice. That's why they say build a team around you, a lawyer, an accountant, bookkeeper if you don't want to, if your accountant doesn't do bookkeeping and stuff like that. A team around you that's really going to help you make your business a solid business that's successful if you don't know those things and information yourself. So I totally
here's
agree.
the thing though, when you build that team, they're supposed to be on the teaching side of it, meaning each one of those players on your team is supposed to be teaching you what they're doing.
What you're doing and not
They're
depending on
not
them.
supposed to just be people that it's not supposed to be a set it and forget it. Like,
Yeah,
I'm gonna pay you to do this and I'm not even gonna pay attention to what you're
yeah,
doing. No, they're
yeah.
supposed to teach you what they're doing for
Do it.
you so you can understand how it's supposed to be done.
Yeah. No, I
Period.
agree. I agree. And I've had this conversation, like I said, with my sister when it comes to financial advisor. You don't just hire them to take care of your money. You have them, if they're a good financial advisor, they'll explain to you, because
Yes.
ultimately the decision is yours, what you do, where you put your money. But if you're not
Yeah.
understanding and they're not explaining it to you where you can understand and make a competent decision, then you're just giving money to somebody hoping that they'll, take care of your money. And like I said, that was I would say the one great thing about the financial advisor I had. She, really broke down, oh, well, this fund works good. This, you should put your money here. Was really good at explaining it to me. And ultimately, like I said, the decision was mine. No, I don't think I want to do that one, but I think I want to do this one, and encouraging me enough to, while I don't want to be a financial advisor, I was encouraged enough to at least be versed on making a decision on what I wanted her to do with my money. No, I'm going to take a little bit of this money and, create a brokerage account where I can, invest in, things like that. Or no, I don't want to do this insurance policy. I want to do this one. So understanding, I get what you're saying, Chris. A good lawyer, a good accountant, a good financial advisor, whoever you have on your team should be there to educate you. So like you said, you can make an intelligent decision on
Yes.
what you want them to do. Because ultimately, like I said, you'll either find them running off to Peru or somewhere with your money, or them saying, well, you told me to do this with it, type of thing.
Can
That's
I?
why that's why you got a lot of celebrities or sports people that you find they're broke because they just
Yeah.
trusted somebody to manage
Trust
their money and
Yeah.
manage the things that they do. So I'm a big proponent
Yep.
of that.
That's what the one thing that I love about. I mean, as a kid, it was kind of sad that I was the only child because I had nobody to play with sometimes. But the one thing that I loved about being only child is I knew that the only person gonna take care of Chris is Chris. That's it. So I don't depend on nobody else to. I'm not gonna sign over a check and say pay my taxes for me, Mr. Accountant, and hope that they pay my taxes. I'm gonna be responsible for paying my taxes and making sure it got paid. A lot of people, like you was naming, the celebrities who got ripped off, they were actually the ones who gave money to people
Yeah.
Yeah.
and thought those people was paying their taxes, which is the
Yep.
worst thing you could
Yeah.
do as a business owner is give somebody access to your bank account, $10 million when you owe $2 in taxes, and say, yeah, take $2 million out of my account since you have access
Yeah.
to pay
Yeah.
my tax.
Yeah. Yeah.
They come back later, the taxes didn't get paid, and they took the whole $10
And that
million
money
out of
gone.
You don't
Ask Fat
ever,
Joe.
ever do that type of stuff.
Oh man.
Ever.
Oh
You
man.
are the worst case scenario, which is what I tell my kids, is like the only person gonna go to jail is you. So make sure you don't go to jail. Make sure you take care of your business with the IRS because it ain't just you owe them money. You go to jail for not paying taxes. It's
Yeah.
not just a money thing.
Yeah.
Wesley Snipes actually went to jail.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
Trust me. Yeah.
People go to jail for not paying taxes.
Yeah.
It is not
IRS.
just I'll just make another movie and get myself out of it. No, you're going to jail first. Then you're gonna make
Yeah.
a movie and still pay back that money
Yeah. With interest.
with
Yeah.
interest. With interest.
Trust me, I cringe thinking about calculating how much I actually paid in interest, even with my school. Like I said, it took me forever. I'll lie. It took me forever to pay off my school, and I didn't have an exorbitant amount of, school debt. But they just tell you, just pay the minimum, and you just get. So I don't even like thinking. I don't even like thinking about. They probably got 2 or 3 times more off of what I paid than what I actually took out for the loan. I was like, oh man.
Yeah.
So interest. Compound. There's a book out. Compound interest. You should read it.
Yeah.
It's really, really good.
Credit card rates are from 15% to like 30%. So
Yeah.
if you're not paying off your credit card in full every month, you've given away so much money. And it's hard to explain that to people because what the average person does is they max out their credit card.
Yeah.
And then they pay the minimum $95 a month.
Yeah.
To think
I did that.
think that that's the way they're gonna pay back the $10,000 in credit card debt.
Yeah.
You'll never pay back that $10,000.
Damn.
$90 a month. That is not how it works. So it's like
Mhm.
explaining that to people, even in my own family, is a struggle because they just don't get it.
Yeah, and you get why they don't get it because it's just something
I understand.
we were never taught this. Now, like I said,
No, of course
in
not.
most families,
No.
that especially ones that have a business, their family is wealthy. They understand all that. They teach that to their kids.
Yeah.
The kids may not, be good at it or get it, but they teach it to them and show it to them. So that's what you hope. Like I said, we get exposed to the things that we need to know in order to really be a successful community, for sure. Again, everybody just jumping in. We've been on this train ride for 3 hours for sure. This is definitely hitting the long mark. So I definitely want to bring. And we've jumped around from a lot of different things for sure. And I kind of want to bring the train into the station here. And like I said, this has definitely been a great conversation, especially a learning conversation for me, for sure. And I know for you as the viewers as well. Again, what I'm going to ask this, and I know you speak to a lot of youth, especially in our community, and others. What would be the one? Well, before I ask that, I will ask you this because I do like asking guests this. What's been the best piece of advice that you've been given that's really kind of served you and stuck with you?
For me, is conquer your fear. Conquer your fear. Don't be afraid to wait until the right time to start something. Don't be afraid to go on your feeling. Don't be afraid to tackle something that may seem insurmountable. You know what, Don? I'm gonna be honest with you, man. I look at like guys that's in hip hop or what have you, because those were our heroes growing up, you know, the ones that so-called made it, right?
Yeah.
The thing with that is that they conquered their fears. They went for it. Even if things seemed bleak, they still went for it. Even if it felt like it was going to take time, more time than they anticipated, they still went for it, and they did it in a fearless way. So don't be afraid. Even if you do go for it and you fail, it's not the end of the world. You know, if anything, there's no such thing as failure because it just depends on how you look at it. Look at it as a learning experience.
Yeah.
I've done some things as far as an entrepreneur, and I made some money, but ultimately, I didn't thrive in that industry or what have you. But I took with me and I learned something.
Yeah.
So conquer the fear.
Yeah.
Don't let fear be like, oh man, what if I? The biggest one is, what if I try it and I fail?
Yeah. Yeah.
What if I leave my job and I start my business and I fail?
Yeah. And I think that's the biggest thing that people
Yeah, it's like, okay, what if you
keeps
do?
people
But
from trying something is that fear of failing, you know.
what if you
Or
don't?
yeah,
What if you don't fail?
yeah, yeah,
You could easily say it's just as easy to think as you that what if you fail and say the same thing. What if I succeed?
yeah,
Then what do I do?
yeah,
You
yeah.
know?
And I think a lot of creators or successful entrepreneurs, inventors, what they say there is no failure. There's only learning, and you learn from it. And
Correct.
so that's why I say there's this mind shift that, like I said, needs to be taken in order for you to really be successful. You know, there's this big. It's not big when you take it, but you think it's big because you're just seeing this gap in between it. But
Well,
it's
it's our conditioning. You mention it all the time,
it
Don. It's
comes from
just how we're
conditioning.
conditioned. Our parents are conditioned, and it's just we've inherited this conditioning. You know, I always say like take two examples, Don. You got up this morning, right?
Yeah,
You might have went, oh man, I might be getting sick. Go take a shower, go on with your day, boom, 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 boom. You've accomplished all this. Might even got a deal out of it or something like that for the day, right? Versus you get up the same morning, damn, I think I'm getting sick. Let me lay up in this bed till I feel better.
Right.
So who's going to be more successful? The
yeah,
one that succumbs to, I think I'm getting sick, or the one that says, I might be getting sick, but I'm gonna go. I got things to do.
yeah,
Let me go handle this, and
yeah,
I'll wrestle in a minute when I'm done handling what I need to handle.
yeah,
And then 9 times out of 10, you're gonna go throughout that day. You're gonna forget that you had that that morning,
yeah,
unless you're really sick.
yeah,
You know, that's
yeah,
a totally different thing. But that's just go to show how the power of the mind works.
yeah,
So the power of the mind works the same way. Chris and I are going to succeed in this business. Why? because we said so.
That's so. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That's why. How do
And
you know? Because we said so.
yeah. Yeah. And it goes into not just the mind, but it's the power of the tongue, what you speak. Because a lot of
Thank you.
people, like I said, a lot of people speak negativity, and so that's just or lack, and so that's just the path that they go. Because like I was saying with you know my sisters, oh, I'm too old to learn the computer. Okay, well then you just X'd yourself out from even
Yeah,
learning the
you're
computer
done.
because you just said you were too old to learn it,
Took yourself
or
out.
yeah,
Yeah.
you took yourself out. Like I said, who was it? I think they said it was uh, uh, Henry Ford. Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. You know,
Yeah.
you're gonna be right. Whether you think
Yeah.
you can do it or whether you think you can't do it, you're right. So which one are you gonna choose to believe? You know, and I think again that's a mind shift in how you choose to think, especially in this time when we're getting all this information, negative information, whether it be through social media, whether it be through news, whatever it is gonna we're getting bombarded with so much information. How do you choose to filter out what information that you choose to let grow in your mind? Um,
But at the same time, Don, you kind of control that too because your what you get or what you receive online is based on your algorithm. So of course, if you're looking up like brawls in the Burger King parking lot, guess what's going to happen? Your Twitter, your Facebook, all that stuff is going to feed
yeah,
brawls that's happening in parking lots.
yeah, yeah,
So it's the same thing. Like if you, Don, you said, you know what, I want to grow my business. So you start looking at stuff that's growing your business. Guess what's going to happen? Your feed is just going to be bombarded with all these gurus and these different people and these suggestions of what you could do to make grow your business.
yeah, yeah,
And if it works the same in the unit, it works the same offline.
yeah.
Whatever you say or whatever you speak, that's what's going to come back to you. And we're firm believers in that. You can't cheat the universe in that. Ask any entrepreneur, any successful business owner, and they'll tell you that's where it begins. You're not going to be successful by waking up and say, you know what, I think I'm going to be a failure today.
Yeah.
You're probably not going to succeed. And
Yeah,
then expect to succeed after you say something
yeah,
like that. Mm.
yeah.
Or I
Yeah, I
don't know if
used
this business can work. I don't think this is going to work, but I'm going to try it anyway. Do, do, do.
you got to be, or like I said, you got to be, steadfast in your belief in what you're gonna want to create and see it to fruition, whatever it is. Um, whether it's inventing something or knowing something can work, you just have to, and you may have a million failures at it, but you're still doing it and you're still trying to make it work. It only takes that one success to spur you on to the next thing. And so that's what I mean. Mindset. It takes, it takes work. You know, choosing to feed you, choosing to have your mindset um, take on the things that you need. What was it? I enjoyed listening to Jim Rohn. I listened to a lot of Jim Rohn stuff, and he's saying you're the guardian to the door of your mind. You decide what you let in. You decide what you let take fertile ground, take seed in this fertile ground that you have. Whether it's like you said, watching Netflix or dealing with gossip, when you could be reading a book that expands your mind, that gives you an idea or a thought that's gonna maybe make you a billionaire. You don't know, but we all choose to decide the information that we want to go after, what we want to take root in our mind. And you guys have taken the decision and made the decision that you are building BayWorld into this worldwide company that makes impact. Everybody has an idea, but very few people can implement that idea and see that idea, you know, and put energy behind that idea. What do they say? Everybody has an asshole, but did I cut somebody? Yeah, I did. It's my show. Everybody has one.
You with
Everybody has.
BayWorld.
It's my show. Everybody has one, but it takes a different person. Everybody has an idea about something, but it takes a different person that takes it to that next level to see that idea through. You know, to make it something real. You know, make it something tangible. Make it something that works. You know, and
You got to see yourself. You got to see yourself in that.
Visualize
You
yourself
got to
doing
see
it.
yourself in that. You can't. You look at, if you look at a person like Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk, and I'm not saying be like them in their industries, but have their mindset. And if right off the bat you're saying to yourself, "Oh, I could never be that successful. I could never be like that person," you know, then you know what, you probably won't.
Probably
No.
won't.
But
No,
if you look,
probably won't.
I look at guys like that, and I say they took the time to learn their craft, to hone their craft, to get to where they are. They are no different from me. We eat the same, we sleep the same, we use the bathroom the same. He is no more special than I am.
Yeah.
In my field, in my talents, or what have you, I'm the Elon Musk of myself. So if he can do it and he's there, he's living proof it can be done, guess what? If he ain't no better than me, I can do it too.
And like you said, all the successful people will say the same thing. You know, they probably did say the same thing. The people looked up to and admired. Hey, if he can do it, I can do it too. Type of thing.
Yeah.
Chris, what about you? What's been the best piece of advice that's kind of stuck with you and that's really served you?
Really just trust the process. And because like Bruce said, we had the first animation in 2016. We didn't LLC to 2021. Now we're in 2024. At any given point in time, we could have quit and been like, you know what, this ain't working. We ain't getting enough traction. We supposed to be Disney right now. We could have made up 1,000 excuses to quit. You know what I'm saying? Like at any point in time, we could have been like, man, we ain't even got the Pixar status. I'm out of here. Like we could have been did that. And had we quit, we never would have got to the point to where we at now, to where we are known throughout the animation community as the guys in the Bay Area to go to for 2D animation. And and also if we did quit, we never would have got to the point to where now, you know, we have a store, we have the foundation and an academy coming up. We got all this stuff. We opened up the office in Ontario in June and July. It's like all the other great stuff we got coming never would have came to fruition if we would have quit. And that stops a lot of people from making it. They quit too early. The success isn't fast enough because we're in a society where everybody wants to be famous right now.
Instant gratification.
They don't realize it might happen.
Instant gratification.
Yeah, instant gratification. They don't realize it might take 10 years for you to get to that status that you want today. Yeah. It might take you that long. You know, going back to what you had brought up, Mr. Beast. Mr. Beast said it took him like 1,200 videos for him to start traction. Yeah. He had to get to 1,200 though. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, most so people, it's not as simple as... Most
people would quit after 3 or 4.
Right. Most people quit after 3 or 4. Man, I'm telling you, people will quit after like 3
or 4. This 150th episode, I'm proud of, baby, because I know most people quit after 4 or 5. So.
You gotta keep going. Now, here's the thing, though. You keep going and keep getting better every time. Yeah. Now, you can't think you're going to get to Mr. Beast status if each one of your videos suck like the first video. Yeah. If you go from video 1 to video 50, in video 50, you can go back and look at the first video and say, oh, damn, I'm way better. Then get from 50 to 150 and go, oh, this is way better than the first video. Then you know you're making progress. Yeah. That's how you grow to be Mr. Beast.
And I tell people, hey, all you gotta do is go back and look at my first episode. It was pretty rough.
Now we gonna do that. We're not gonna flash you, but we gotta go see the first episode.
Yeah, it wasn't nowhere near like this.
That's how it should be. You should be able to go back to your first video and go, that was trash. Yeah. I'm so glad I made it to this point. Yeah. But people will, like you said, people will do 3 horrible videos and say, I quit. It's
So
like that's not how that works. You gotta put the time
consistency,
in.
baby, and what I learned too is that everybody runs their own race. I think a
Yeah,
lot of people get caught up in I need to, I want to be. Yeah, you may aspire to be like Disney or be like that, but everybody runs their own kind of race,
yeah,
and it's in their own time. So
yeah,
it's hard to do that sometimes with everybody. We're all in this comparative mode. Well, he's doing way better than me, or he's got more views than me. No, it's about my own race. It's about
yeah.
what I'm doing to make myself better in my own time, type of thing. So definitely, those are great pieces of advice. I always like to. Hopefully, it won't cover you up there, Bruce. But I always like to drop bombs on people. And there it goes. It's a little slow. My computer is maxing with 2 guests here, so that's another thing I gotta.
Oh,
Yeah, that's why the tractions are. I'm getting a new computer, and so I'm pushing this one to the limit with what I'm able to do now. But we are going to jump over here. Make sure that you connect with Bruce and Chris. You can find them on all their platforms, their website, BayWorldUnlimited.com. Definitely go over there and check it out because, like I said, the episodes are. And go to the YouTube channel. You'll be able to see the episodes. They're kind of hilarious there. YouTube.com, BayWorld Unlimited. And you'll definitely get a feel for the Bay Area if you aren't from there already. Also, connect with them on their Linktree page. There, you'll be able to connect with them on all their other social channels. They're on TikTok and some of the other ones. And all this stuff will be on the show notes when it goes up on the channel for sure. So you definitely, like I said, want to make sure that you follow them, get connected with them, and support the content that they're putting out because it is some great content. I kind of like it. Like you said, it's a little strong for some people, but I get it. I like it. So, I'm going to support it. I support what they're doing. I'm definitely a big supporter of building your own, controlling your own IP, and really controlling your own destiny of where you're going in life. So, definitely want to thank both Bruce and Chris for coming. Well, first for connecting with me in the first place, because I know you don't have to, but we kind of clicked and definitely kind of vibed on the same thing, and definitely looking forward to having you back on the show and be a part of it with sharing even more stuff that BayWorld is doing and sharing with the community as well. Let me jump back over here. For sure. Uh, if you could hang out in the green room while I close this out, I would appreciate it. So we can talk just a second more. But everybody, please, again, help me thank my guests, Bruce and Chris, for coming on and sharing all the great stuff that BayWorld is doing. So hang out for just a second in the green room while I close this out, bro. This has been a marathon of a show for my 150th episode there. Again, I can't thank Bruce and Chris enough. Like I said, woo, 3.5 hours. I think my longest one is about, yeah, I think they came close to my longest one, 3.5 hours. Yeah, that was a marathon. But hey, this was my 150th episode, and like we were talking about throughout the show, consistency and sticking with what you want to do is a big thing, and that's what trips up a lot of people is they just don't stick with it. They want to see that instant success right away, and not focus on their own race. And so I can't thank you enough for the viewers for always supporting, and cannot thank my guests enough for coming on. And I really don't like calling guests. I like calling them friends for coming on the show and being a part of the show as well. That's what helps me to get this show growing and get out there and really reach you. So I know you, along with me, got a lot of value from this. Mr. Enrique, appreciate it. Appreciate you tuning in for sure. I know there was some great advice. Definitely, they dropped some gems for sure as well. Let me make sure I'm on it right here. So, like I said, I cannot thank you enough for helping me kind of celebrate, even though this wasn't an official kind of celebration. I was kind of waiting until I hit my 250th to do like a big thing. But 150 episodes is not something to sneeze at. Like I said, most people that are doing either a podcast or a show, they usually tap out after five episodes. That's what my podcaster friends say. Seven is like the tap out time for most people doing it. So I feel extremely proud that I've reached 150, made some amazing friends, and had some amazing guests come on the show. And like I said, Bruce and Chris and what BayWorld is doing is no exception for sure. So definitely, like I said, when the show gets up on the playlist, check out the show notes. Check out, like I said, not only what BayWorld is doing, but some of the earlier stuff that Chris was talking about that he's shot as well. Those will be in there as well. So definitely do not want to miss out on that. As this second quarter rolls along, we have been doing some great episodes and had some great guests on, and next week is going to be no exception for sure. So definitely looking forward to that. Next, you won't want to miss out on that. Next week's guest, Mr. Jerome Rogers Blake, animation consultant and lead animator, is going to be on next week. So definitely looking forward to that episode as well, and sitting down and chopping it up with him. So I definitely know that you do not want to miss out on that. Again, thank you for tuning in. Like I said, this has been a marathon of a show, but it's been a great one for sure. So I will see you next week. Make sure that you have a great rest of your day, and more importantly, a great and productive week. I will see you next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. Cheers, everybody.